Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Hello there.
I'm calling, and I hope I can be a little more specific about who my beef is with than your last caller.
Okay.
Okay, it's you. Is that okay?
Listen, lots of people have. Why should you be different? What's on your mind, baby? What have I done wrong?
Well, it's not that you've done something wrong. You always very carefully say, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that, but it is my opinion which conflicts with yours.
No.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Heavens to Betsy.
Well,
go ahead.
All right.
I'm sitting down.
Okay, good. As a contractor, I would appreciate it if when you say to the general public at large...
Don't give them big down payments.
No, I've heard you say don't give them money up front, period.
Well, sometimes I feel that way, yeah.
I would really appreciate it if you would make a clear statement that there are exceptions.
There are few and far between.
Well, let's just say in my business.
All right.
Okay?
What kind of business are you in?
Okay, I paint and hang wallpaper.
By golly, you're going to laugh. Hear this? I'm going to sound like Rush. Hear that?
Please don't do that to me.
All right. In front of me, I have blank painting contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, so-and-so agrees to do the premises of Bruce Williams, the work details, so many bedrooms, the halls, the bump. Right?
Yeah.
And it says deposit of 1/3 is required before starting said work.
Right.
The balance to be paid on day of completion. And guess what's scratched out?
What?
Deposit of 1/3 total cost is required.
Okay, now let me ask you something.
He wants to work, and I'm delighted. He's a good contractor, and I'll pay him when he gets done.
Okay.
Yep.
And what are you having put in your house in the way of materials?
Well, paint. There's a little wallpaper and paint. That's all.
Okay.
The biggest part of it's labor, unfortunately.
Okay, well, let's back up a minute. Who picked out and who purchased the wallpaper?
My decorator. He picked it out. My decorator picked it out. He purchased it, I believe.
I'd get clarification on that.
Well, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me because I'll just write a check.
You don't care.
Because I'll write a check when it gets done.
Okay, but you're John Q. Honest Citizen.
No, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Look, I know what. Look, let me be shifty about this, okay?
Okay.
There are times, for example, if you're buying a wedding cake, I think you have to put money up front because that wedding cake is totally valueless and you got to get rid of it if the wedding doesn't take place or whatever, because it's not something you can put back on the shelf for a little restocking fee.
Okay.
If paint is, I suppose, I guess in my case it's being blended. I don't know.
Now you're getting to my point.
To match the fabric. I don't know if that's happening or not. It's not my concern, to be perfectly frank with you. But my attitude, dear, is, look, you want my business? These are my terms. And your attitude is, if you want me to do business, these are my terms. And we
got that right.
And we may not get along. I have no problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it either, but I think making a blanket statement, as I've heard you make so many times, being a very long-time listener,
okay.
And a very devoted listener who gets on the case, I might add, of my local station because we get a rebroadcast.
Do you really?
Yeah,
That's
and it
terrible.
stinks.
Let me say this to you. Suppose I'm doing a big job, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a customer, I can appreciate the what's the term I'm looking for? Maybe a feeling of insecurity on the part of the contractor. What happens if I don't have the dough and so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
So I have no problem with saying I'll deposit this money in an escrow account with my attorney.
See, I have no problem if somebody would offer to do that.
Well, then you can suggest that. See, and you say, I can no longer get, even though he's my attorney, I just can't say, give my money back. It's in escrow.
Right.
So I have the wherewithal to meet this obligation.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want you to understand you're not getting any of my money until it's done satisfactorily. And furthermore, what really distresses me, and I can appreciate as I say these words where it can present a problem, is where somebody says, well, I need the money for the material. And my attitude is, if you're not solvent enough to put that money out for material, I don't want to do business with you.
And I agree with you on that. And it's not a matter of I need the money for the materials. Mm-hmm. It is a matter of there are a lot of materials that are general. Okay?
2x4s are general, but if you had to have scroll work done...
Mud, all these things are general.
Yeah,
if
but
they don't
scroll
get used
work...
in your house, they'll get used in somebody else's
but if
house.
something
I have no problem with that.
Something customized, it's a problem. I can appreciate that.
All these custom colors that you love, and it doesn't matter whether I love it or not.
Isn't it worth shit? In my case, I don't know what they are.
Well,
I will know they start slapping them on the walls.
Okay, you have someone selecting on your behalf.
Yeah, I paid the lady.
Taste you trust, who apparently knows your taste and what you want to live with.
No, I just know my taste. It's in my mouth.
Oh, okay.
So I figured her taste has got to be better than mine.
Well, I could tell you that's not necessarily true just because it's a female, but...
No, it's just, she's hopefully an experienced decorator. We're going to find out.
Okay, but all I'm saying is there are circumstances where when you come up with, I want Pepto-Bismol pink, that's my color, I love it, I want it from one end of the house to the other. Dandy.
I wouldn't trust that person as far as I throw it tomorrow.
Cross my palm, give me a check for the value of that Pepto-Bismol pink. I know I could live to be 130. I'll never find another person who wants Pepto-Bismol pink.
I don't have anything to quarrel with you on that issue. I think that's reasonable. I don't have any problem with that. As long as I know the Pepto-Bismol pink is going to get paid for by somebody, you say. That's why I am more comfortable with the escrow situation.
Well, under normal circumstances, when it's not something on the order of a Pepto-Bismol pink, which I did recently have to do for somebody, and they are tickled, pink.
I was waiting for that.
They think it's wonderful. You and I would have a problem keeping dinner down, but...
Well, that's what the Pepto-Bismol... Never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, we aren't as far apart as you might thought.
Okay, good. Can I ask you one other thing?
Why not?
Okay. Not all that recently, and that's probably why my question is going to end up being moot. I got involved in a real estate transaction where I was the purchaser. I got to within 3 weeks of the closing date. Now, I was making this purchase from out of state, and I had an attorney, okay?
On the site.
On the site,
okay.
Yes, and from the get-go. Okay. Much to the dismay and chagrin of the real estate agents involved. I was told in so many words, if you have an attorney in these here parts, you create an adversarial situation. Guess what? If I'm buying real estate, it is an adversarial situation, sweetheart. Now,
you and I are not as far apart as we thought here. Go ahead.
Okay. So I went in, I thought, with my eyes wide open, being protected. 3 weeks from closing, I get a phone call from not the attorney, but the real estate agent informing me, we have a small problem, we aren't going to be able to close. Okay, why? Well, because you can't get a clear title. You're right, that's a big problem. Why can't I get a clear title? Because the survey is bad. I said, that's easy. We get a new survey. Well, it's not quite that easy. This land was all plotted out in the early 50s, and it turns out, let's just say, my lot is number 23 in line.
Yeah.
By survey, the old survey, my lot is 100 feet wide, and it is, by survey, the farthest from my lot, 25 feet of lot 24, and the closest 75 feet of lot 25.
Some mystery property in there, huh?
Right, and it's not just mine. Every last one of them in a line is like this.
Well, yeah, the error would probably be perpetuated.
Right, it's a domino thing.
Sure.
So I said, oh, okay, so everybody has to get a new survey or quit claim over.
Whoa. Getting a new survey. A survey is only a reporting of what is.
Yeah.
Just getting a new survey is not going to do it. It's got to be replatted, and a whole bunch of people got to agree to all that.
Right, and everybody would have to quit claim what they supposedly have over to someone else, and it turns out that the first one in line, lot number 1...
I'll tell you, I want you to hang on a second, and maybe I'll miss the rest of the story.
Okay.
I want to mention that Danny and I will be here tonight from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., taking your calls off the air at 800-743-8000. I'm Bruce for Talknet. Alrighty, I'm chatting with Lydia in Fort Walton Beach. Brought down its essence. She wanted to buy a piece of property. However, the property was not appropriately subdivided 1 million years ago. Therefore, all the titles were faulty. That's what it comes down to, right?
Right.
And so what happened?
So the bottom line is, I said, well, I would like to extend the time frame of the contract, which I had an option written in to do that, so that we can have the time needed to take care of this and get the...
Well, that's the seller's problem, to get to cure the problem.
Right, but I wanted to extend the contract, which was going to expire, so that it would allow time to do that.
Right.
And I informed the real estate agent of that, and I said, I will call the attorney and tell him this is what you've told me. She says, oh, I know from their office. I said, fine, I'm going to tell him what I want him to do about it. So I called him, and he said, okay, but I don't think the seller's going to want to extend the contract, because I understand that they have another offer in the wing, a backup contract. Okay, cut to the chase. The backup contract was none other than the attorney's partner.
You gotta be kidding.
I am not kidding. Okay, now I had a real sweetheart of a deal on this. It was a lot that was 100 wide by 300 deep, waterfront, the whole 9 yards, okay? And
he would be in clear conflict.
Yeah. But, see, the problem was, A, I'm single.
What's that got to do with anything?
B, I'm female.
What has that got to do with anything?
Well, let me finish. C, I'm a Yankee.
Yeah.
And D, I was moving to this territory and intending to do business here. And when I spoke with a number of different people, they said, I wouldn't mess with it if I were you. They'll cut you off at the knees. So I let it lie. I just let the contract expire. The attorney's partner got the land and the little house that was on it, tore it down, put up a house of his choosing, and it has stuck in my craw ever since.
Well, you got lousy advice.
How?
I would have sued him. First of all, I'd gone to the bar association in that county. This business year coming there. These people are so timid. Don't make any waves. You know, if you want to be a doormat, lay down.
I agree.
The fact that you're female is not... Let me tell you something. I can tell you that there are females, I can think of one who I'm related to, would rip out your throat and you'd never know they were at it.
Well, there's
very, very, very talented woman, let me tell you. But the fact that she's female has nothing to do with anything.
Where I agree with you, and that would be an accurate description of me. But I got intimidated, period. So my question is there a time frame for suing under these kind of circumstances?
How long ago did this happen?
4 years.
Nah, I think you're out of luck.
That's what I figured.
You sat on your rights too long.
Okay.
But I mean, how old are you? Serious?
Honest?
Yes, honest.
49.
Okay, if you were told me you were 17 or 21, I'd have said, okay. But goodness gracious, you are a mature woman. You should have known better, really. And you're obviously in business. You're intelligent. Why would you let somebody intimidate you that way?
Under normal circumstances, it's real tough to do that. I guess just knowing the good old boy politics that I was going to be moving into.
Is there any place that doesn't have, quote, good old boy politics? And in some cases, good old girl and good old whatever.
I come from the city where, he with the bucks in hand gets the job done, whether he be a she or he be a he.
Where are you from?
The Midwest.
There's nothing different anyplace else.
Well, I'm here to tell you it's real different here in the Panhandle. Real different.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, this isn't called L.A. for nothing.
I wish you well, dear.
Thanks.
Good talking to you. But if you let people walk on you, you have nobody to thank but yourself, and that's fact. I'm Bruce Williams. Glad you're here. This is Talknet. We go now to Lima, Ohio. Hello there.
Hello. Good evening, Bruce. It's an honor to talk with you.
Well, thank you so very much.
My brother has a pretty big problem, and I was going to try and work part of it out for him if I could, but I needed your advice. I understand you were a cab driver at one time?
Yeah, I drove a cab back in a million years ago when I was in college.
Yeah. Well, his problem is that he's driven cab for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
And over the course of those 10 years, against my advice, he did not pay any taxes out of his earnings that he received.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all. He never kept any book work or anything of that nature.
All right, now let me ask you this. Did he work what they used to call horse hire or renting the cab, or did he work on a PC? Work on a percentage.
He worked leasing the cab.
Horse hire.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no records whatever?
None.
Oof. Has the government caught up with him?
Well, yeah, the problem is that there was a disgruntled driver that was, he was fired, and he turned in
the whole list of the guys.
Basically, I think he started with the city of Lima, and the city called up the cab company wanting a list of all the leased drivers.
Right.
Okay. My question is...
Well, wait a minute. Let's continue your story. He called up the city got the list, then what?
Well, basically, that's where it rests for now. My brother...
Well, maybe I'm missing something. Why did the city request this list?
Well, that we're not sure of. It's only speculation that he turned them in.
I see.
But my brother, I guess, is assuming the worst case scenario that he's also turned them into the federal and state as well. And my brother knows that he should have done things differently.
Oh, yeah.
But what my question is that I've been through this basically with a car lot, and
what do you mean by that?
Well, I was self-employed at one time, and there was a question that arose on whether or not I was self-employed. So I contacted the Internal Revenue Service, and they sent me a form called the SS-8. And that was a list of questions to determine whether or not you were actually self-employed or employed. Oh,
you're talking about the independent contractor routine.
Right. And the first question on the list was, do you have a reporting time? And I guess what I'm trying to find out is...
No, if you're asking me, is the cab company getting around the independent contractor route?
Yeah.
No, the answer is no.
Okay.
No, they're leasing the cab to him, and it's up to him to make the money. It's up to him to do the whole thing.
I told him, I said, if you're really, truly self-employed, I said, then you can stick an ad in the paper and do your own advertising.
No, you're not. You're trying to find your brother an out, and he doesn't have one. Your brother's a tax cheat.
Well, yeah, 50.
That's it.
50% anyway.
What? What do you mean 50%?
Well, I mean, if I guess since he's actually determined self-employed, I guess it's 100%. But
that's right. The only difference would be here is that if he were an employee, that he would be paying taxes not only on what they what he earned, but also on a percentage of his tips. Mm-hmm. And that the employer would be making a contribution toward the Social Security. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the hiring of a cab. But now he does have certain rights when he hires. Mm-hmm. When he's hired, if he wants to go home for lunch, he can go home for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Because it's on him.
Yeah, and there's certain deductions as well.
What deductions?
Well, if he's self-employed, he can deduct his meals if he's out on the road. Is that not true?
No.
Well, why not?
Because you can't.
If you're self-employed and you're out and you stop on the job.
No, if he's away from home, it's one thing. You just can't take all your meals because you're self-employed.
Yeah.
And you can't take all, and even in the meal thing for the legitimate businessman man, I was going to say, that's been severely restricted. It's only a percentage.
Mm-hmm. I guess we know why there's not too many people self-employed.
Well, it's not a question of being... It has nothing to do with self-employed. If you're working for me, there's only certain things that are expensible, and some are not. Look, it's pure... Look, your brother screwed up badly.
Sounds like it.
What you ought to do is get hold of an enrolled agent or a CPA, one or the other, who is going to sit down with him and find... Does he have any money?
Not very much, no.
Lovely. Well, he's a whole lot better off if he goes to the IRS, and in this case also to the state of Ohio, than them coming to him. Mm-hmm. Them coming to him could be very serious. I don't think they'll put him in jail, but it's a possibility. Because he's clearly a tax evader.
Not
an avoider, an evader. If he goes to them, the likelihood is they'll just try to do a deal and suck a lot of his blood for a long time.
No, they won't get any money out of him in jail.
That isn't the issue.
No.
That isn't the issue, really. I guess it is an issue to some extent, but it's not the issue. The issue is that if they catch you, they're going to make an example of you. If you go to them and say, look, I made a mistake, let's work it out, they tend to be a lot more civilized. Particularly, how much did your brother earn a year? And don't romance me.
Oh, well, just a rough estimate. I'm going to guess 10,000.
That's all?
That's all.
He lived on 10 grand.
That's all. Yes. I mean, you're not gonna make the money at it.
I made a lot more than that 30 years ago.
Yeah, of course. See, you were in a different city. You were in probably a significantly larger city than 45,000 people.
That's true, and I was also a hustler.
Yeah.
I worked my solid 12 hours a night.
Exactly. Plus a clean cab helps.
I'm not sure how clean the cab was, but that's another problem. It's hard to believe. If they came to me, if he came to me and I was the examiner and he said $10,000, I'd say you're lying.
Of course, how would they determine that?
Well, I would say, how did you live? Let's talk about this. Is your brother married?
No, he's not.
How does he live for 10 grand a year? Tell me.
From house to house. He doesn't live very easily. Let's put it that way.
Did he have a car?
He's got an old car.
Has a car.
Pardon?
Has clothes on.
Yeah.
Has an apartment of some kind.
Yeah.
You'd have a hard time convincing me. Assuming that was the case, he wouldn't owe very much. He owed the Social Security, but that's about all.
That's what I was thinking, was that most of the taxes that he would pay, he'd get back anyway.
Well, you wouldn't know. It doesn't work that well. Okay, it doesn't work that way, really. You don't pay any taxes if your withholding is only supposed to be an estimate of what your obligation will be. And on 10 grand, he would have a very minor obligation after everything is all done and said. But he's still going to sit down with a CPA or an enrolled agent.
I sure am glad I'm working.
Things are not going to get any better. Pardon me?
I sure am glad I'm working for an employer that does it for you.
Well, it's no big deal doing it for yourself. I do.
Well,
I'm self-employed.
I did it too, but at double what you would normally take, pay.
It's not double. That's not true. The only thing that is affected is Social Security.
Okay.
Doesn't affect your withholding, your income tax. It doesn't withhold what you pay, in this case, the state of Ohio. The only thing it covers is Social Security, Medicare, and if unemployment is a factor, as it is in some states, you pay your unemployment tax. That's it. Probably a total of 10% at the most. I do wish you well, guy.
Okay.
Take good care. All righty, from Lima, Ohio, we go to Ithaca, New York. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
Yes, indeed.
I'm a nobody.
Well, me too. I'm glad you called, kid.
Here's the question. First, a statement. For the past year and a half, a friend and I have been working on a cartoon strip. It's based on a character that I developed where I do about 80%. I do all the drawing, and I do about 20% of the writing, and she does about 80% of the writing.
All right.
Question is, first, do we need to form a partnership to, basically we've done all the work. Everything's ready to go. We're ready to send it in.
Let's start with a very fundamental question.
Okay.
Is there any question about the percentage of ownership here?
That's the second point.
Well, that's the primary point.
Okay.
Is there a question about that?
There's a question basically by me.
No. If there's a question, there's a question without regard to who it's been posed by. In other words, do you agree on everything? Do you agree it's a 50-50 deal?
I mean, have we discussed it?
Of course.
We've been doing this about a year and a half. We've been talking about it. And,
You've been talking, but you haven't come to a resolution?
Well, we know it's
right now. But God is very gracious, and lightning strikes, and somebody offers you $1 million for this idea. How does that $1 million get whacked up?
That's what we're...
Yeah, I figured as much.
Well, basically, it's going to be...
Not basically.
Nothing less than 60-40.
How do you come to that conclusion?
Pardon me?
How do you come to that conclusion?
Basically, because I developed.
No, basically, would you please, basically?
Okay.
How did you come to that conclusion?
The fact that I do half of the work plus about 20% of the writing.
Does she agree to that?
Yes.
Does she agree to the 60-40?
She did last year.
No, hold on. How about November of 1994?
We haven't talked about it.
Well, you got a serious problem. It's not a problem right now because it's not worth anything right now.
Right.
I don't mean that to be unkind, but we agree on that.
Sure.
But if lightning struck, and suddenly King Features decide, boy, this is a great strip, you got a serious problem, don't you, Tiger?
Mm-hmm.
We get back, we'll talk about it, okay?
Okay.
I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in. This is Talknet. Yeah, I'm chatting with a young fellow in Ithaca, New York. Hello there.
Hi.
Are you with me? You want to recap our conversation real briefly for our people who might have just joined us?
Sure. I've created a character where I'm going to be putting into a comic strip, and I'm working with a friend who is doing about 80% of the writing, and I'm doing about 20% of the writing. And I guess we're stuck on what percentages I feel.
More important, though, you haven't discussed it for a year plus.
Well, I know. We've kind of put it on the back burner because it kind of destroyed the creativity. So we...
well, unfortunately, creativity and business sometimes are not handmaidens. Frequently, it's difficult to find an artist and a business person encapsulated in the same body.
Right.
But you're going to have to do that.
Well, you were both...
Pardon me?
I'm sorry.
You have to sit down with this person. Say, hey, lady, we got a problem. I wouldn't say we have a problem. What we should do is get our relationship resolved to writing. I take it this is strictly a business relationship.
No.
The way you hesitated, I got a problem.
At first, we were just neighbors, and then we started. She started seeing my work, and then I own a greeting card business too. And she wanted to write for my greeting card line, and the character really looked better as a cartoon character, and the writing that she came up with, I thought was great. So I thought.
But my question was: is this relationship purely business?
No. I mean.
You answered it. The answer is no. I listen. That's
well, if we're friends.
How friendly?
It's not that friendly.
I'm serious.
No, because she's married, and that's it's not that way.
Well, anyway, do you see what I'm getting to?
But can I just before you let me go? One of the things we're just stuck on is there a reasonable way to figure out a percentage? I mean,
yes, whatever two parties can agree to. You see, it's not, there's no magic litmus test here. Well, let me see, it was my idea, that's worth 2 points.
Right.
But she had a great idea for a name, point and a half. There's nothing of that kind. And I'm kind of curious as to how you came up with and whether she would agree with this 80-20 deal on the creative writing. She might, and she might not. But that's another factor. But the point is that you two ought to sit down and discuss your relative contribution to this project and then agree to it in writing, because you can just bet your life, firstborn child, and everything else on this thing, that in the event that it becomes successful, you guys are going to perhaps put the success in jeopardy because you can't get along on who gets what.
And then we go to a lawyer and get it drawn up that way.
Well, yeah, but there's no point in seeing an attorney until such time as you've agreed in principle onto what what the arrangement is. And I got news for you. You're not going to like this either. The wind-up is you'd probably be better off with a 50-50 split. Because she's going to be a very unhappy camper. And you talk about something that stifles creativity. If she's not happy, and you're not happy, the creativity is going right down the toilet. Good luck, my friend. This is the kind of thing that should have been done when you get together initially. Hey, tonight, Danny and I will be here from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Join us. I'm Bruce. This is Talknet. Here's office. I believe in your case, you're out in Long Island. They have an office in the World Trade Center, if memory serves me.
Oh, I see.
And you want to get an introduction to somebody with some clout, because it seems to me that they screwed up pretty badly, and the easiest thing for that insurance company to do would be just to put the policy in force.
Yes, I would think so.
I hope that you live a long time.
I do, too. Another thing, this man that I talked with a month ago, he said, do you know what those agents did? They lied to you just so they could sell a policy. This came from one of the top men.
All right.
Yes.
So I can see where they might have made been overgenerous in terms of their estimation of the dividends.
Yes. But I paid extra money to guarantee that it would be paid up. I have that all on the tape.
You did good.
Thank you.
I do wish you well. Let me know how it comes down, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. He did very well. He touched the bases, and furthermore, 7 years later, he could lay his hands on the tape, and that says a whole bunch, too. This is Talknet. Carpet. Its revolving brush scoops up every cookie. Buffalo, New York. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. First-time caller, long-time listener.
Well, I'm glad you're here, my friend.
Thanks. I have a question for you. I developed a new product, and what I did, I made a prototype of the product, and I sent it out to a manufacturer, a place that would manufacture and also market the product.
Well, which?
They're
manufacture at your expense or theirs?
Their expense.
Oh, lots of luck. Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I hope it's as good as it sounds. And what it is, it's a novelty item. It's a gag gift that you would see at like the malls, some of these stores that sell
like Spencer Gifts, that kind of place.
Exactly. So what happened? I've been working with this company for probably about 2 months, and we were hammering out like how much should I get for the product, the percent royalty. And what we came down with, the cost of this item is going to be about $5.
Retail?
Yes. Sorry, wholesale. And then probably double that.
At least.
Retail, yes. We negotiated a 2% royalty agreement per item.
2% based upon wholesale?
Yes.
Dime a product?
Right. And that was the best I could do. The person I was negotiating with, they pretty much stuck to that 2%. But anyway, the problem is, now we're at the point where they sent me a license agreement. And it's one of these agreements written by a lawyer, and I'm going to take your advice, and I'm going to go to a lawyer.
About the point to have. I hope you're going to have one on your team.
I've listened to you for so long, I would never do it without a lawyer. But based on your show and the experiences of your callers. But anyway, the problem is that we agreed on 2% per unit. When I get the licensing agreement, there's a clause in there that says for the first 5,000 units, there's no royalty because this company wants to recoup some of their startup costs.
Their development costs, yeah.
Right. And I called them up, and this person will not budge. So my question for you...
Well, it's only $500.
Okay, I was thinking a little bit more. 5,000 units.
5,000 dimes is $500.
Right, 5,000 units times $5 a piece.
No, just figure you got a 10-cent royalty. Right?
Right.
2%.
Right, but 2% of 25,000.
No, hold it. Let's do it do it my way.
Okay.
2% of $5 is how much?
Is 10 cents.
That's right. How much is 10 cents times 5,000?
$500.
How much are we talking about?
For $500.
That's correct.
Okay. My question was, is this usual for...
Anything is usual if you can negotiate it.
I heard that the last for the cartoon caller.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
It's not for somebody to want to get their money back. When I've done deals with guys where we get our money back before creative people before they share.
Even though previously we negotiated,
No, you negotiated but didn't have a deal. You didn't get a deal till it's executed in writing.
Okay.
Now, the fact that they wrote something else in there, does that say something about their way of doing business? Maybe it does. But the fact that you've been able to find somebody to do something with you at all is remarkable.
Okay. One last question. What about the length of the length of time that an agreement should go on?
That's up to you and them. How long do you want it to go on?
If there were some caps in the agreement, say, they sold so many units per year, I'd be comfortable for as long, a long period of time, 10 years. But
I would feel just the other way around. I'm a crapshooter. Yeah, there ought to be some minimums in there.
Okay.
Otherwise, the deal goes away. And the other side of that is, suppose the thing takes off like the hula hoop.
Right.
Well, then I'd want to be able to renegotiate it if everybody's made a comfortable amount of money to get a bigger piece of the pie.
Right.
But the fact that you're an unknown, I don't mean that in any way unkindly, but you've never done this before. You have no track record.
Right.
The fact that you get somebody to work with you is remarkable.
Okay. Good. I wasn't thinking in those terms.
But I mean, you're going to have to sell a hell of a lot of these things to make any money.
Right.
Do you believe it's got that kind of potential? Down in your black little heart. Now, we're not talking about what you'd like to have happen.
I spoke to somebody who developed a similar type of item, and they made out pretty, very well.
Well, how many pieces did they move with their item?
Over 200,000.
Well, 200,000. Let's do the arithmetic on that. $500 for 5,000, right? $5,000 for 50,000. That's only 20 grand.
Oh, I was thinking that's a good down payment on a house.
Well, I'm not knocking it, but
yeah.
But I mean, don't give up your day job.
Right. Understand.
I do wish you well, my friend.
Thank you.
Take good care. We go from Buffalo to Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. Hello.
Hello. I'm a faculty member at a university, but we teach English to foreign students.
What, English as a second language?
Right, and that's a kind of an outcast department.
I mean, you're not exactly held up as the place to be, huh?
Right, and
when you walk into the faculty lounge, everybody sort of turns the other way.
Oh, we don't even have a faculty
lounge. Oh, my goodness. But we've been in existence on this university campus for about 25 years. Well,
and I certainly haven't been there the whole time.
Well, you sound like you're kind
getting there. But there are 4 of us who are full-time. And full-time means we are on 1-year re-renewable contracts.
You're not tenured
We're
faculty.
not even eligible for tenure. And therefore, we're not eligible for travel money and all that stuff.
What is your title? I mean, are you
instructors?
Yeah. Oh, you're just an instructor level.
We're just instructor
Not even
level.
an assistant or an associate.
Right.
Huh?
That's one of our gripes.
What is your academic achievements?
Well,
where are you? You guys?
We all have masters. 2 of us have PhDs. I'm an ABD, and one says satisfied with her master's.
But a couple of you have terminal degrees.
Well, at the time that we got masters were terminal degrees in this field. A PhD is very recent, and the PhDs are not in the field. They're in...
Without regard to that, you see, even if you have a doctorate in a totally different discipline, it generally still counts.
Yes, but not much in this department. It doesn't make us, But we've been trying just to get some kind of equitable salary arrangement.
Well, back up. Do you have a faculty union on campus?
Yes, but they haven't been able to even... When we told them our plight, all they said was it was appalling. But nobody gave us any real help because they're set up to work for tenure or more or help part-time. We have a lot of part-timers, too. That's another story. I was part-time for 10 years before I got one of the 4 coveted full-time jobs.
I'm surprised, though. Is this a public or private university?
Private.
And there's no tenure track for
our discipline. That is not so unusual. What is unusual, though, is that we've been trying for about 5 or 6 years just to get some kind of parity in the pay scale and the teaching load, whether or not we get tenure. Most of us who are full-time have been there anywhere from 10 to 15 years. And we do not earn what they pay a PhD walking in the door, out of school, off the street, in any other department. I mean, there's a $10,000 gap. And we've tried we've gotten minuscule, like 3% raises, but, 3% of very little is still very little.
Yeah.
And,
100% of nothing is nothing.
We're trying to get what they call a parity adjustment or an equity adjustment. Of course, it's unlikely you're going to do it all in one lump sum. And we just get put off all the time. I mean, we can't even get listened to, and we're just wondering if we're missing some, something we ought to do, because we keep going through channels.
It would seem to me that I only got a couple of seconds.
Yes.
That since you are a member of a teaching union, the union is where you would put in the pressure. That's what you belong to a union for. And why they hold you in disdain is another program, but the union is where you ought to be working. Good luck. I'm Bruce for Talknet. Lakeland, Florida. Hello there.
Hello. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Bruce. I've taken a lot of the advice you've given to other people over the years, and I wonder if you could help me now.
I will do my best.
This question concerns my son. He's 18 years old and wishes to buy a car.
Don't they all?
Yes.
Boy, am I surprised, yeah.
Of course, he can't swing the finances without me co-signing a loan.
Well, why do you want to do that?
I don't really.
Then don't.
The problem is that he's going to a community college in a neighboring community which requires a car to get to.
How much does he want to spend for these wheels?
$2,000 or $3,000 at the most.
At the most?
Yeah.
Boy, you a generous father.
Yeah, well, there's some history there. I bought him a car a couple of years ago, and that didn't work out very well, so I'm not...
Well, why didn't it work out very well?
Well, he got some speeding tickets and got involved in drugs and went through a treatment program, but now he's putting his life back together again and needs to get on with it. And he's doing quite well, actually. But my question about this concerns my liability. He's living in our home. He's over 18. If he has a car in his name and then pays for the insurance, but if I co-sign for it, am I in the liability loop?
No, you are not to my knowledge.
Okay. That's my main concern with it.
Well,
because it's going to be his responsibility to buy, pay for, maintain, and take care of the car.
If the car's in his name, it's his responsibility.
Okay.
But you're a more generous father than I.
I have various serious reservations about doing this, obviously, but it's almost a necessity for the situation he's in to have wheels of some kind.
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, some kind, yeah, well, that's another story.
Right.
Is he working?
Yes, he is. He's working part-time and going to school part-time.
Chances are, did he already approach somebody for a loan?
Yes, he has.
And they'll go with a cosigner. Surprised. Yeah. I'm surprised they don't just say, we'll loan the money to your father. And that
may be how it turns out.
But that's a problem now. But then you see,
then the car's in my name.
That's correct.
And I don't want that. Okay.
That's exactly so.
And if the car is in my name, then
there's an argument there about liability. I would not want to be in that position if I were you.
Right. Because he hasn't been the most reliable person in the past with a car. That's why I don't want to have my name on it.
It would seem so.
Yes. All right. So your advice would be to not have my name on the title at all.
Oh, not for any reason that I can think of.
Absolutely. All right.
Good luck, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, Guy. Houston, Texas. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
It is I.
Oh, okay. Well, you got me out of a jam last time. Let's see if you can do it again. I'm a photographer by profession. In other words, they pay me for what I do. I don't understand why, but they do. Anyway, I don't know if you remember calling in. There was a killing down here, and they needed some pictures, and I didn't want to give them to them for free, but you suggested that I did, and I did, and it helped out. Anyway, this time I just sent some pictures off. We agreed, had a contract written up. They paid me X number of dollars, and I was supposed to shoot X number of pictures and send them to them.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that lot that I sent to them, they would only get a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to send the whole thing to them, and there's, let's say, 50 of them that they paid for. 100 of them I sent. That means 50 are unpaid.
Say that again?
Okay. I agreed to shoot 110, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, out of that 110, 75 belong to them that are paid for.
And that's not an issue anymore.
Which part's not an issue?
The 75 are gone, paid for. It's the end of it.
Okay, but now they still have another...
Well, but I'm trying to get to those 75 we don't even talk about.
Right.
Okay.
But
there's another 35 to be accounted for.
Right. Now, I sent them to them, and my obligation was to give them something to choose from.
Right.
So they had 35 more. Well, I sent them to them, and they may or may not send them back to me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, I can deal with that. But my question is, what can I do to assure that when I do send them out in the future around the country, that I'll get them back? I sent a restricted delivery.
I'm not sure that's going to help you. Why do you send these pictures out?
Well, because their parents live here, but they moved out of the state. And they were living out of the state when I contacted them, or when they contacted me.
Why not send proofs?
Well, that's what I sent.
Well, proofs have no... I know they're supposed to be returned, but they have no value.
Well, and to me they do.
The proof?
Yeah, the proof is their original preview, which is what goes in their album.
Yeah, but the proof... Well, they have proof stamped on them, and they're very low quality.
No, they don't. They don't have anything stamped on them.
Well, a lot of them, a lot of proofs will have holes right in them.
No, not mine.
Well, why don't you do that? In other words, you buy a press that stamps the word proof in little punctures.
Yeah, but then I have to turn around and spend more money on more pictures to send him again, which would be another expense.
Maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm missing something. When I've ordered pictures, portraits and whatever, they send me a real poor quality piece of crap that tells me I can see what it's going to look like, and that's called a proof. Then I order the finished photograph, and that's what I keep.
Okay, well then the initial print that I get back is the finished product.
Well, why do you send them a finished product site without getting any money?
Well, no, they've agreed. They paid me $560 to be there for my time and X number of 8x10s and 75.
Oh, so that you provide, period.
Right, and I provide.
What you're saying is you provide 30 items and they're going to pick 15.
Right.
Well, that's a problem. We do the same thing with commercials. We may give you 3 cuts and you're paying for 1 commercial. And the other 2 are supposed to be returned to us, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. There's no guarantees. If you're sending the finished product, I thought most photographers would send proofs.
Yeah, that's almost kind of. I could buy the equipment that you're stamping on there, and then maybe wipe it off, but they could wipe it off too.
Well, it isn't wiped off. It's punctured through.
Almost like
not almost like it is punched through.
Like the number is on your passport.
That's correct.
Yeah, see, that would destroy it. Then I couldn't use it.
That's right. That's exactly right. But you're a photographer. There's a difference between a proof and a finished photograph.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I turn the film in, they send me a finished product, and that's what the customer gets.
Well, you don't process yourself.
Oh no, I don't. No, that's
why do you say, "Oh no"? A lot of guys do.
Oh, I only know one guy out of probably about 100.
But they have their own photo lab.
Yeah, well, they actually process inside. Now, black and white, a lot of guys will do, but color. Now, with the advanced technology now, you can get them back in a couple of days, or even a day now.
Get them back in an hour.
Yeah, if you go the 1 hour route, sure. But it's so quick now, and but I
don't know what to tell you.
Is there any special? Like I said, I send a restricted delivery, but
what does that mean? What's restricted delivery? What's that got to do with anything?
Well, they just told me that the bride got it.
All right, that doesn't tell you anything.
No, but that's what I was calling you for.
What you said was, how do I guarantee that they'll send them back to me?
Right, that's what I'm calling you for.
The only way I can tell you is to get extra money.
Okay, taking a deposit then.
In other words, let's say they paid you $550, collect $750.
Okay.
When you return the extra photographs, I'll send you your $200 back.
Okay, then a deposit. I thought about that too, and I usually try to avoid that. But
I understand that because it makes it a harder sell.
Right.
Absolutely. You got to some degree. Let's be realistic. The photographs have no value.
Right, but then if they keep them, then.
But they have a value to them.
Right.
But there's no value to you if you get them back. Just like my commercials have no value to me, to anybody else, including me. It's a piece of tape.
Right. I mean, I could probably use them for display or something like that.
How many can you display? Come on.
Right. No, you're right.
Effectively, they only have value to them. And the only way you're going to ensure what that thing's to get paid is to get a deposit up front. Or at least a credit card imprint. But that would be, at least you put it through, it gives them a little something to think about. I do wish you well, guy.
All right, thanks, Bruce.
I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in. This is Talknet. Gentle reminder that Danny and I will not be going home under the usual time constraints because we'll be here from 10 p.m. Eastern right through 3 a.m. taking your calls off the air for broadcast later on. The number 800-743-8000 is the key. Good right now or then. Remember, it goes real quick during the recording sessions because there are no commercials or that kind of thing. And if you get busy, just call right back and we'll get to you. I'm sure of that. Alrighty, to Horseshoe Bend, Idaho. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing real well, thank you.
Hey, I'm a long-time listener. I listen to you every night on the way home from work, religiously.
Well, I'm glad we can keep you company, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, I got a situation back in California. We moved out here to Horseshoe Bend to be close to my father and stuff like that.
Culture shock, too, huh?
Well...
Where in California?
We were in Santa Rosa, and middle of wine country.
Yes, I know. I was in Santa Rosa here 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, great place.
It is a lovely place, but it's still a whole lot different to Horseshoe Bend, I got to feel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. This is a great... I'm looking out my back window right now, and I see nothing but snow-covered mountains and stuff, and it's really a nice place.
Super.
It's great to raise kids, too.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, we have this... we bought a house. I got out of the Navy back in '93 in March, and we went straight to California because I was raised around Marin County, and we got into a little place, and you know it's a little place if we spent $125,000.
Yes, and in that part of the world, it's boy.
Well, I could fit it inside this place, but what the deal was is I had $13,000. To work with, and we needed $15,000 to get into this house, for the down payment under this deal. So my sister decided, well, okay, I'll give you $2,000, and so we finalized the deal. And
the word, was that the appropriate term, give, or loan?
Well, it was like an investment for her also.
Well, then it was not a gift then.
Right. It was. If we make some money out of the deal, everybody knows California property is not, well, at least in that area, is not going up in value right now as like it is in other parts of the country.
Or like it, well, other parts of the country.
It was.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, but so now, a year later, we decided, I worked for the post office. And I got a transfer up here to be next to my father. He's getting up there in the age. I'm not saying he's old because he's not yet, but we got a transfer. We had a buyer for the house for $115,000 even.
And how much did you pay?
We paid $123,500. Now, granted, it's a loss. But we wanted to cut all strings, all our bills paid, everything like that. And the deal was, we don't want to have a rental back there. And
I understand. I think you made the right decision.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We wanted to cut all the strings. And came down to it, I told my sister what my plans were and everything like that. And all of a sudden we had a buyer. And it was for a considerable amount less than what we paid for it. And she said, no way, you're going to lose too much money. And I told her, I said, well, you're not going to lose anything. I'll give you $2,000.
Is her name on the deed?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course, And wham, no sign, no sell. Right?
Right.
Okay, so that's where my questions come in.
Where's your sister?
She's in Petaluma.
Is she helping you out there manage this place? Is it rented or what?
She's helped me out quite a bit. She's doing great. She got it rented out. This is the thing. She got it rented out, and this is my problem. Why I didn't want to keep it. It's a negative income situation. Okay, so she's got it rented out. It's not even covering the house payment.
How much is it rented for?
$800.
And how much is the payment?
I think the payment, including
everything,
PITI, it's $950.
So you get a negative of $1,800 a year.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for me. I work hard for that.
No, I'm not arguing the point. I think your sister made a wrong decision.
Yeah, and so I figured, okay, I'll leave for, I'll let her stew over that for a year, and maybe she'll change her mind. Maybe, as a matter of fact, maybe the price of houses will go up. Okay, so we've been here for a while, and I was wondering, I told her, I said, well, if you want to sell it, when it comes down to it, what's going to make me sign, if you're going to sell it because the property's not going up in value at all. As a matter of fact, it might be even depreciating right now, right? And, how long are you going to rent it for on a negative income like that?
Is she contributing something toward this negativity?
Yeah, a little bit. So... But then again, you got taxes coming due, and that's...
Well, I'm just asking the question. I think your sister made a bad call.
Yeah, but now my question is I don't want to... I was well intended, I'd lose some money. I'd lose like $5,000,
you're just going to lose. You just lost another $2,000. That's all.
Yeah. I was going to lose $6,000 anyway.
Yeah, but now you lost $8,000 if you sold it to the same price today. So what? Where are we going with this?
Okay. What I wanted to know was, is there anything that I could do to like sell it?
You could
get my equity out of it. Give her the house. Whatever.
You could if she's willing to do that.
But only if she's willing.
Only if she's willing.
Okay, so there's no recourse at all.
Yes, there is. I mean, you can go to court and force a sale. You want to do that with your sister?
Well, no, not really.
I think your sister is making a fool. She's made a very bad decision. You say, look, sister, I was willing to give up what I had in the house, or pretty close to it, if he has willing to. I'm willing to do that, but I don't want to keep reaching in my pocket for $150 a month.
Well, I've had this conversation so many times already that.
And what does she say?
It's the same thing. It's like, well, we are going to lose the money that we put into it, blah, blah, this and that, and we bought it for an investment purpose. But let me tell you, I tell her that we could, if you want to put your money in an investment, put it into a mutual fund or
Well, that isn't the issue. The issue is you've lost what she had invested originally. You've lost that much again by her recalcitrance.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Well, I would tell her that I just can't go on, honey. You got to get off the pot.
Okay, and that's where I'm at right now, and she refuses. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, you could refuse to start sending the subsidy and say, look, we'll let it go and see what happens then.
Okay, we're there now.
Mm-hmm.
We've already done that.
And what does she say to that?
Well, she's still bound and determined.
And you can tell her that also is going to reflect badly on her credit as well as your own.
Yeah. And,
your sister is a jerk. I mean, I can't tell you how to deal with a jerk.
Okay, now, that's why I was wondering about legal recourse.
Yeah, you'd have to go to court to get the court to order her. And that's
order her to what? Give me cash or give me.
I've got to let you go, my friend. You go to the court to order for a resolution. Either she buys you out, you buy her out. One of you goes away, you sell it, let the court decide.
Oh,
that's good, but that's going to be very expensive.
Exactly.
Good luck, kid.
Thanks, man.
Boy, though, your sister is acting like a jerk. I'm Bruce Williams. That's tough. This is Talknet. Seattle, Washington. It's your turn in my world. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for taking my call.
You're most welcome.
I have an insurance question for you.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering what an adequate amount of liability insurance I should be carrying on my auto policy.
As much as you can get. At least $1 million or more.
Really?
Yes.
Because I read somewhere that you should carry about a couple times what your net worth is.
Where in the world would anybody get that stupid idea? Because that is stupid. Because you could be. Here's the thing. What's your first name?
Jim.
Jim, think about this. How old are you?
23.
The fact that how much are you worth right now? Not a whole lot.
Not much.
All right, but wait a minute. No, I've only got a few seconds. Otherwise, I could banter with you a little bit, Jim.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Just because you're worth a little, that doesn't prevent you from doing a ton of damage.
Right.
And the alternative, you realize if you have a relatively modest amount of insurance, you'd be responsible for whatever overage there was if it went to court.
Okay.
And yeah, you can discharge that through a bankruptcy.
Oh, I see. But
you have that on your record from the time you're 24 the rest of your life. Do you need that?
No way.
Now, how do you handle that? Well, what you do you own your own home, Jim?
No, not yet.
Do you live at home?
No, I don't live with my parents.
Well, my point is, do you have a renter's policy?
Yes.
Okay, then you could buy an umbrella policy.
Oh.
You got to have a renter's policy as well as you got to have your home covered, your domicile,
right,
as well as your automobile.
Mm-hmm.
You go to your broker and you tell him you want to buy an umbrella for another $1 million.
Okay.
Now you're kind of young, and that may be a little bit of a problem. You married?
Yes.
Okay, that should be a problem. It probably cost you $125 a year.
Oh, that's not bad.
For the extra $1 million, you bet your life.
Okay, well, great. Thanks a lot.
Good luck, guy.
Thank you.
Hey, Danny and I are going no place at 10 o'clock this evening other than to chat with you guys at 800-743-8000. 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. off the air. We'll take your calls. I do hope you join me. I'm Bruce. This is Talknet. Columbus, Ohio. Hello there. Welcome to Talknet.
Hi, Bruce. It's a pleasure to talk to somebody that I regard as an icon.
An icon?
An
wow.
icon.
I'm impressed.
Here's the situation. About almost a year ago, it was back in March, I was driving in a parking lot, and I'd stopped, and I was making a right-hand turn. when another car decided to make a left-hand turn from the lane to my right.
Well, I'm trying to set this up. You're stopped, going to make a right.
Right.
Guys on your right going to make a left. Okay, you're on a collision course.
You got it. Well, I was turning right onto, the access road within the parking lot.
Was it a two-way road?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And I made the right into the right-hand lane, perfectly legal and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And this bozo decides to make the left through the, one of those...
Cut it short.
Yeah, cut it short. In fact, he cut it so short that he was on my right-hand side when I was in the right lane. Or he would have been had I made it into the right-hand lane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to make a long story short, as the vernacular goes, I broadsided him at a low rate of speed. I hit my brakes, and I hit him at maybe, 2 or 3 miles an hour. Did no damage at all to my car. Completely collapsed his left front fender. Now, here's the situation. I consider that not to be my fault. I consider him to be at fault. And we got pictures, and I went and I talked to my insurance adjuster, and it was ruled to be 60% my fault.
It's called contributory negligence.
You got it. That's exactly what they said. And here's the interesting part that goes along with it. The guy that I ran into is also an insurance adjuster, albeit for a different insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, I still don't consider that my fault, and I think that there's enough evidence behind it to prove that it wasn't my fault. Is there any recourse for me?
Not really, for a couple of reasons. First of all, the whole concept is not the term I'm looking for. For whatever, we'll leave the term open. Of contributory negligence is, in my opinion, kind of fraught with contradictions. Depending on where you are, what state you're in.
Mm-hmm.
In some states, the fact that you're there, but you weren't home in bed, that in itself is considered to be contributory. And in some states, if you're in some jurisdictions, if you were adjudicated to be 1% wrong, you're 100% wrong.
Yeah, well, they told me...
In for a penny, in for a pound kind of thing.
They told me had it been ruled that I was 49% or less at fault, it wouldn't be on my record.
Well, the problem here, problem is not, I guess again, I'm fumbling with terms. The troublesome part is that they will make this a chargeable accident and increase your insurance premiums probably for 3 years.
Right.
And so they'll come out ahead of the deal.
Yep.
And you know what you can do about that?
Zip.
That's the size of it.
Yeah. That's what I was afraid of, and it was my banner year because I finally turned 25. My insurance was scheduled to drop significantly, and instead it stayed the same.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculously high amount because I'm in an indemnity company because I got onto insurance at an early age by myself, not on my parents' insurance.
Well, you mean you're in some kind of an assigned risk of sorts?
You got it.
Okay.
No.
And now the gross injustice in this system. I mean, see, the argument is, well, them's that makes the accidents ought to pay. Okay, but the inequity is that in many occasions it is to the insurance company's advantage to pay because they'll recover that and a premium.
Yeah, they'll recover it as they
surcharge
out of my hide.
As they surcharge you, that's right.
That's right.
And unfortunately, in most insurance relationships, there are exceptions. Errors and omissions being one of those exceptions. You do not have the luxury of telling the insurance company you want to fight it. If they choose to settle, they have that right.
Well, that's what I was afraid you were going to tell me.
How much damage to his car?
About $750.
How much is the surcharge going to be?
I figured my insurance would have probably dropped about $400 a half. Right now I'm paying almost $900 a half, which is a ridiculously high amount.
I'm not going to argue the ridiculously of it, but what I'm trying to get to is let's walk through this a little bit.
Okay.
How much? You say you figured, you don't know.
Well, talking to my insurance agent,
how much would the annual saving have been?
About $800.
Well, why don't you offer that you don't want to make a claim?
Well, it's a little late for that.
Why?
This happened back in March.
Oh, they've already paid it.
Yeah, they've already paid it.
Too late. See, because you'd been better off to write the check for $700.
You got it.
Or it probably wasn't $700, which they probably a fraction of that, the 60% of the $700.
Right.
And you'd have been dollars ahead.
Yep. All right, Bruce.
You know what they say about living and learning? The question is, can you afford the tuition?
Yeah, I suppose I have to. I really don't have much of a choice.
I don't guess you do, but you tuck it away for next time.
Yeah,
there are many times when it doesn't pay to make a claim.
And I've heard you say that over the past couple of weeks, and I wish I had heard that particular show a year ago. I would have been more prepared for it.
I hear you. But hey, thanks for the kind words, guys.
Certainly, and I hope to be you in a few decades.
You're very generous.
That is my aim.
From your lips to God's ears.
Thank you.
Take care, kid. St. Petersburg, Florida, your turn. Welcome to my world.
Hello.
Hello there.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
I also appreciate your gift of knowledge to us all, by the way.
Well, thank you, Guy.
Okay. My dilemma is this. My wife and I recently have been interested in doing our will over.
Yeah.
And so...
you want to name me a beneficiary? I'm so happy. Thank you very much.
Well, at this point, I would like to.
What happened, Guy?
Okay, we went to a seminar on financial planning and wills and so forth from a particular firm that boasts to be the third largest financial planning.
No, let's not identify. That's an oblique identification.
Okay. Anyway, they in part of the seminar, they mentioned a particular type of will, or a trust, a living will.
Well, we're
it's
throwing,
a package.
We're throwing terms around here. Well, you can't package them. They may package for but there's no package. You can have a will, you can have a living or inter vivo trust, you can have revocable, irrevocables. There's a whole lot of combinations, but and they may have interrelationships, but they are not packages.
All right. Well, they particularly sell it as a package. And let me tell you, they tell you this is what's in the package: a trust, a living will, a pour-over trust.
Now, hold on now. A living will has nothing to do with your money.
No, I know that. But they talk about the protection of the two parties.
There's no protection in a living will.
Well,
a living will is, if I understand correctly, I believe I do, because I executed one.
All right.
A living will is a statement of what you want done if you get in serious condition. It has nothing to do with anything else.
Well, the analogy of it was it's protection for one has the say-so of whether or not, for instance, if they have to be put on life support.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
And my question to that was, well, does that mean if it's on record that they just don't connect you?
Not necessarily.
Okay, well, that was my question.
Well, and no one can really answer that question.
That's right, because sometimes life support for a short period of time could bring a person back.
Well, now you see, it isn't an issue of life support as such.
Okay.
It's an issue of is the prognosis without question fatal? Are we just going to have somebody hanging out for a while? Yeah. That's the question. I was on life support stuff here. It will be 12 years ago this coming Monday, and I was in pretty bad shape. But I was young enough where I was in an airplane crash, and they felt that I was going to make it, and clearly I did. But it took life support and resuscitation and all that sort of good stuff.
That's what I wanted to clarify, is that does a living will state that, number one, we don't even put you on it?
No. A living will says that you don't want extraordinary
extended time
efforts taken when the ultimate prognosis has to be death.
Okay. Well, that was explained to me because I just wanted to know exactly what.
Yeah, I think let me tell you, I would feel very uncomfortable if I didn't have one.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to be is on. You see somebody who's a vegetable for a year.
Yes, of course.
Putting aside the fact that it eats up a ton of money, I would not want my body treated that way.
Sure. Well, we had just an ordinary Florida will prior to that. Reciprocal wills to each other.
Ordinary Florida will, huh? That's perfectly acceptable where I'm sitting.
Okay, well, all right. I want to find out whether this is overkill for our particular situation, or do we really need this and for the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me very briefly tell you our situations. My wife and I, daughter, sister-in-law, and a son-in-law, who we're not close with at all.
Are not what?
We're not close with at all. We're very close with our daughter, but he doesn't accept us or cares for family. So, but we're very close with our daughter.
Okay, well, I want you to hang out. We'll kind of see if we can reassemble this thing. Fair enough? I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I am chatting with a gentleman in St. Petersburg, Florida. He married.
Yes, sir.
Wants to get his affairs in order in case he decides to leave this vale of tears, right? Well, tell me a little bit about you in terms of your assets.
Okay. Approximately $100,000.
Okay, so you have no tax problems, whatever. Let's start with that.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
In what form are these assets?
Stock in my home.
All right. So the home is in your wife's name, as well as your own.
As well as mine. Yes.
Okay.
Everything we have is in joint tenant.
Well, no, wait a while. Is it in joint tenant? Is Florida? And I don't know the answer. I should know the answer to this. Is Florida a tenant by the entirety state?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
No, you say probably. There's no probably.
Okay, I'm not 100%, but
either it is or it isn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, but if it's tenants by the entirety, that's the way it should be set up. But okay, let's assume that it is.
Okay.
So you have really, and your other assets, your stocks, your bonds, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All in your joint names. Is that correct? Simple will is all you need.
Well, the problem is, okay, when I discussed this and asked this, they said, well, here's what the disadvantage of a simple will is that eventually there will be a probate.
It's no big deal. It's no big deal.
Well, they're talking up to $8,000.
That's nonsense.
That's nonsense.
No, sir.
Okay.
For what reason?
Well, of course, if I pass on and my wife does, it just everything passes on to each of us. But at that point, explaining to us that if she's left,
I don't believe that to be true. It should be nowhere near that. You have a very simple estate. Let's start breaking it down, okay?
Okay, but
hold on. Never mind, no buts. The house is in her name; it becomes hers instantly, or yours, depending who passes away first. The same thing is true with the securities in your bank accounts.
True.
What else is there?
Okay. What happens if both of us, since we're always together, we travel?
Then if there's a common disaster,
yes,
then it would go to your next beneficiary. Be your daughter.
Okay.
I assume it's who you're going to leave it to.
Yes, well, one of them. We also have another relative.
What's the other relative?
Her sister, my wife's sister.
That's interesting. You'd leave a part of it to her, huh?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's your choice. No big deal. I think you're being, people have been terrorized about probate because it sells books and it sells...
I know that.
Well, I don't see...
And the reason why I said I wasn't going for it until it was explained to me by this party, particular... I suspected scare tactics and all that, but it was too logical not to avoid. For instance, in the package that they give you is a trust, a living will, the pour-over trust, a durable power of attorney.
Durable power of attorney is worth having.
And a pre-need guardianship.
Well, I don't see that with a durable power of attorney. Why do you need that?
The pre-need guardianship?
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the package. And
you keep saying part of the package. Well, let me ask you a question.
They said it's a package of all these, and there's one other. There's one other that they say is unique in itself, is that it has what they call a Medicare blowout with a 3-year look back.
I'm trying to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you went into one of those great cafeterias they got down in Florida, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right. And they've got 14 vegetables and 16 kinds of meat. Would you eat every one of them?
No, that's what I'm calling you, to find out, am I overkill in this situation? Do I need parts of it or all of it?
What did I just get through saying? They keep trying to sell you this whole menu. And boy, you're going to look at the great bargain. When you go into one of those listen to me.
Yes,
when you go into one of those cafeterias, they have food coming out of your, yes, indeed.
I appreciate that.
But nobody can eat all that. Nobody needs all that.
I understand that.
And the same thing is true with these. You don't need all this stuff. If you told me you had $40 million, I'd be giving you an entirely different story.
What about the Medicare blowout, where in the event that we both become disabled, that Medicare can... I understand, make not a lien on your home, but they could actually make you pay, depending how much you have in your estate. If it's anything $1 above $7,000, then you can be responsible for a considerable amount more than you would get if you did not have.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. And that's what's explained. Because in this particular package, when you become disabled, that automatically everything shifts into another part of the estate, so Medicare can only charge you the maximum of $7,000.
I'm not sure if that's true.
For a long dependent illness.
I'm not sure if that's true. In other words, you talking Medicare? Are you talking about Medicare or Medicaid?
No, it's Medicare, because that was specifically mentioned. They said this is not Medicaid, this is Medicare.
Okay, maybe so. I don't know.
Because if you have to go into a care facility,
yeah,
all right, they could actually.
They're going to go after your assets, of course.
Yes, but if you have what they call the Medicare blowout, okay.
My understanding is you have to do that so many years in advance, not at
3 years.
Well, and then how are you going to do this 3 years in advance?
Well, because they go by date. They go by the date where you make the will. It's not
maybe
not the date of the occurrence, but the date of you make the will.
I don't think that's true either.
Well, he said that this has been fought in court on cases like this, and they have won.
All right. I mean, listen, I'm not prepared to argue because I don't know.
Well, either am I.
I just think that this you're getting sold. What do you pay for all this, by the way?
$650.
Well, first of all, then they have an attorney that prepares your will. I take it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the money that you pay for this is a one-time. You do not pay for any amendments that you wish to make up, and everybody else would charge you.
You're talking about codicils, you mean?
Pardon?
You mean codicils?
Well, whatever amendments you have to make to any parts of the package, there is no charge for it, and they say they put that in writing.
Or maybe it's a good deal. I don't know. It sounds to me like an awful lot of overkill to me.
But you do think that the durable power of attorney?
I think a durable power of attorney, but that's worth at least $7, right? And the living will, that's another $7 to $15. Your reciprocal will is about $150. Sounds to me like a lot of money for what you're getting.
And we really don't need that.
I don't think you need it all. That's right.
Not even.
I think if you were to go see your friendly attorney, the whole deal would cost you maybe $200. Mm-hmm. 2.5 outside.
Okay. Okay, sir.
I mean, it's just my opinion. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I value your opinion. I'm calling you because I felt that it might be overkill, but he says that these come into play years down the line, so you may not use it now.
And that's entirely that's a possibility. That is a possibility. But it just again, it sounds to me like an awful lot of stuff that in your case you don't need. But that's the personal opinion. I'm Bruce Williams. Good luck, guy. This is Talknet. Hutchinson, Kansas. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm a first-time caller, and I can't believe how easy it was to get through.
Hey, just pick up the phone. That's all it happens.
Simple stuff.
There you go.
Hey, Bruce, I've kind of in a little bit of a dilemma, and I just couldn't think of. Well, I was listening to the show on the radio. I thought, well, why don't I pick up the cellular phone and call you? I've got a business venture that I'm contemplating. I have been contemplating for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. I have a small machine shop. I'm just more or less a one-man show, and I've had the tools and equipment for a long time, and just more or less got started in it a few months back, and I've been doing pretty well. But a guy I used to work with approached me about a situation where he owns a company that is making a product, a decorative fence, out of recycled materials. It looked on the product. He's done the development work over the last 2 or 3 years, and the product just looks fantastic.
But he's not selling it.
He's not selling it yet. He's not in production yet on the product. And the problem he has is he needs someone with my expertise to better develop the machinery to produce his product.
Yeah.
And he's wanting me to go into business with him to do that. And basically what he's tried, basically what he wants to do is just pull me into the fold and pay me for my assets based on, the value of what he says his stock is worth, and give me X number of shares for whatever, whatever the value of my assets are. and that.
Oh, whoa, slow up. What do you mean? He's going to your machine shop then becomes part of this whole package.
That's right.
And if the package goes down, your machine shop goes bye-bye.
That's the part I'm scared to death about.
Why would you want to go that route? What advantages to him except to increase the assets of his company?
Well, the one thing is basically he feels confident, and I in some ways have to concur with his opinion. The product is.
Everybody who has a product feels confident.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with feeling confident, but that's no great credential.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really, and I'll be honest with you, I'd like to help the guy, but I just would prefer not to, put all my eggs in that basket.
Well, aside from that, tell me what the advantage to you is. Let's walk through this thing.
Okay.
You got the facility to make these widgets, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why is it necessary for you to put the your value of your machinery up? You can make the widgets. You can have a deal with him to make the widgets. You can have a piece of the company in return for making the widgets.
Yeah.
But what's in it? What's the advantage of lumping your assets into his company? I'll tell you what the advantage is to him. It increases the value of his company.
He can borrow against it.
That's
or
correct.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which, my company is not very,
the issue is there is no advantage to you in doing it that way.
Okay. Well, that's.
And furthermore, let's be realistic. You got the horses right now.
Mm-hmm.
You say, look, I'll be very happy to make these things, and I'm willing to take, a piece of the action, but I'm not about to put up my company because there's no reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's where I came to. I just was, I was looking for someone to tell me the same thing. And,
well, you just found somebody to tell you the same thing.
Well, one of the things that, there is a side note to that, and that is, some of the things that he's talking about, and it may or may not make any difference, okay, but what he's looking at is regionalizing these facilities produce this product, okay? So that it's franchised throughout the...
Wait a minute, you're throwing terms around. What do you mean franchise?
Well, he wants to build regional plants, okay? He's going to sell, the license to build the product, and more or less, for X dollars you buy all the equipment and the rights to the product, and...
He's got big ideas.
Right. I mean, you're talking, and I tell you, the product, I think, lends itself to that kind of, we're talking, that kind of potential, mainly because of the, what I call them, the environmental wackos. I hate to say that, but everybody is on the recycling kick. We've got states handing out money right and left to get people to do these kind of things, to use recycled products in their...
What is the product he's making?
Well, it's a fencing material. It's a decorative fencing, but it lends itself to, and basically it's about 2/3 as strong as a board when it's done, and about the same weight as a board, as conventional lumber.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, it's virtually, it's 90-some% recycled.
It may or may not be a good idea, but there's no advantage to you in doing it the way he wants you to do it.
Well, one of the things I wonder if maybe I ought to work. One of the things I've thought about is maybe taking, a portion of my payment for doing work for him in stock.
What did I say? I just got through saying.
Is that what you were referring to?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's one of the things I had thought might be.
You're turning this into a hugely complicated environment when it really shouldn't be.
Okay.
All you're saying to him, look, I can make this stuff for you. You can't make it by yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to take stock instead of money over and above my out-of-pocket costs.
Right.
Your turn. That's it.
I tell you what, that's the best advice I've heard all year, Bruce.
I hope it works out well for you.
Well, I do too, and hey, I listen to your show every chance I get.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for your advice.
Hang in there, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in for more. We're so pleased you're here. This is Talknet. Hamden, Connecticut. Hello.
Hello, Bruce. My wife and I are great fans of yours. My wife though she hasn't quite deified you, does have you on a pedestal. So I said, we're having a disagreement. I said, let's call and see if we can get your opinion on it.
Oh, boy.
10 years ago in Delray Beach, Florida, we bought a condominium for $90,000.
All right.
Consisted of a complex of 9 buildings surrounding a lake and 44 tennis courts, clubhouse, and 2 pools.
So, run that by me again?
There were 9 buildings surrounding a lake, 44 hard-true tennis courts, a clubhouse, and 2 pools.
And you bought a condo.
A condo.
So you had the access to all this good stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And it had great promise, and things were going along well for 3 or 4 years. The amenities, the developer went belly up. So the tennis court, the clubhouse, and the pools went bankrupt, so to speak. And the savings and loan that had the money on it took over. And believe it or not, within 6 months, the S&L went under.
I believe it.
Federal Savings Loan Insurance Corporation took over, and that had some trouble, and FDIC took that over.
Yes, they did have some trouble.
Right.
An understatement, that is.
Yeah. So a judge was appointed receiver at $100,000 plus a year, and he immediately appointed his nephew at $80,000 a year to run this thing. And no one had a real interest in settling this. You know, they just dragged it out for 4 or 5 years. Then, believe it or not, the management company embezzled $286,000.
Well, you were snake bit.
Yeah, really, it's a bad situation. But the condos basically now are solvent. The amenities are still not. They're in a state of limbo. But values have plummeted. Current market value, I would say $58,000, $60,000.
And how much do you pay?
At $90,000.
Okay.
I have a $61,000 mortgage. I've been renting it with some success and some good tenants. My last tenant turns out to be, they trashed it. So it's in disrepair. So I presented to my wife 3 options for our consideration.
Okay, and you're in Connecticut when this is all going on.
Right. We go back and forth, but mostly in Connecticut. A deed in lieu of foreclosure to the mortgage company. My attorney says no.
I was about to point out that that's just like foreclosure.
Right, because he said the deed is on the property, but the mortgage note is on, me.
Yeah.
And I have considerable assets, so they'd come after me.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're going to strike that one.
Okay.
Continue to rent, which requires additional investment to spruce the place up and make it rentable. And I'm opposed to that because I feel like I'm chasing a rock down the bottom of the ocean. This thing keeps sinking deeper and deeper, but it's one of the things she thinks we should do. The other suggestion I had was to sell this for the existing mortgage or even less, which also required an additional investment, but then I'd be through with it.
Well, you say selling it for the existing mortgage, you said that you owed 60-something and it's not worth that.
Right. Well, here's the thing. The mortgage company, I've been in touch with them. They will, to an approved buyer, someone that meets their satisfaction.
Yeah. Okay.
Reduce the mortgage by 5%, which is about $3,000 change.
To what?
To $58,000.
And how much could you sell it for legitimately?
$58,000.
Okay.
Right.
So you just get a chance to walk. Would you still be on the bond?
No.
Are you sure?
Well, according to the mortgage, my attorney says I wouldn't. If we structured this deal, I'm out of it.
Oh, you see that we're back to that country western song. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. If you, I'm in a similar situation on a couple of properties. Now I'm looking at it. I'd have taken one case. Let's take about a $45,000-$50,000 smack. I have a negative cash flow of like $100 a month. It took a long time to make that equal $50,000.
Right.
So I'm going to sit it out for a while, but I can afford to sit it out.
Well, that makes sense too, because I'm in a similar situation. My cash flow is negative by about 100 to 150.
So it's not going to kill you.
When I turn around to depreciation, though, I end up with.
You got to recapture that when you sell, right?
Yeah, but see, my pea brain, I'm saying, if I'm depreciating it at 90, I'm never going to depreciate it down to 58. For example, if I sold it for 58.
I think the strong likelihood is, as I view it, If it were me, I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm going to hang in for a while and see what happens. For that kind of a relatively modest, and you get bad tenant once in a while. I mean, I'm a specialist at getting bad tenants, but that's a whole other program. Good luck, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. Our telephone number 800-743-8000. If you'd like to get through, we may be able to find an open line for you. Klamath Falls, Oregon. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, Guy.
True from Klamath Falls.
Yes, sir. What is your name?
True, T-R-U.
True.
It's
Truman?
Short for Truan.
Truan.
Yeah.
What kind of a name is that?
I guess it's a French name. It's my grandma. She was a little bit crazy. So she named my dad that, and then my dad was crazy, so he named me that.
And when you have a kid, you'll probably name yours the same thing.
Well, I don't know if my wife will let me do that. I told my dad I would when I was a little kid, but I think my wife might have something to say about that.
It's a nice tradition once you get started.
So I went by Pete when I was a kid, just because I didn't want to get picked on, I guess, in school.
That's better than Beaver, I guess.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Hey, I got a question on taxes. What I'm doing is, my wife and I are claiming 9 on our, I believe it's W-4.
Yeah. On the withholding thing at the office.
Yes, sir.
So they don't take anything out of your pay.
Yeah, exactly. Matter of fact, they take...
Why are you doing that?
Okay, because I set up a separate account that I just have, labeled tax account. I'm taking 30% of... What's take home? Is that net?
Take home is net, yes.
Okay, I'm taking 30% each month on my wife's paycheck and each week on mine. I'm taking 30% out of net, putting that into...
Net or gross?
Of net, my take-home.
Net is not... You're probably going to be you're putting a separate account and trying to get interest and being a wise guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Only problem with that scenario is twofold. You're going to find yourself in a serious problem if you're under withheld.
Okay. See,
and you're going to be under withheld, clearly, because you do have some tax liability.
Yes, sir. I understand that.
And you may be penalized for that.
Oh, why will I be penalized?
Because you've been under withheld, deliberately under withheld.
Well, as long as I'm paying at the end of the year.
Well, we'd all like, wouldn't we all like to do that?
Let's see. I'm new at this game, and
let's take an unusual scenario, but unusual certainly for a lot of people, but not so unusual if you get lucky in business, right? You make a ton of money. You got to pay the taxes in advance.
Quarterly taxes.
Quarterly in advance.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to hold that couple $300,000 for a year and earn money on it?
Well, sure.
Can't do that.
Okay, I guess I figured since I wasn't paying quarterly taxes, it wouldn't be a big deal.
I think you may find yourself you got a problem. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Really? Oh.
The idea with holding, the thesis behind it, True, is to have enough money withheld to meet your tax obligation.
Break even.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people get over withheld because it's sort of a forced saving at no interest. I'm not sure I think that's real bright. But on the other hand, if you don't have it's smart if you know you don't have the discipline to save money any other way.
Well, my wife calls that money, when you get your tax back, tax return, calls that screw you money, where you just go and you blow that on something else.
Oh, I think your wife has a misconception. That's just extra money that's been withheld.
Yeah.
At no interest, but it's money you work just as hard for as any other dollar.
No, I don't. She's on her way to Reading right now. I don't want her to hear this because she listens to your show too.
On her way to Reading. Huh?
Yeah, she's going to see the in-laws. But no, I didn't want to make her look bad. I mean, she.
No. Look, how old is your wife?
She is 27. I'm 26.
She's got a right to look bad at 27. Come on. It's sort of grow-up time, but I think you're making a mistake. I don't know if you'll be penalized or not. I do know that the IRS looks with some disfavor on people who deliberately overestimate their exemptions, and you have clearly done that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I did that intentionally.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, my father-in-law told me he's has quite a bit of money in stocks and bonds and all that stuff, and so he pays a lot of quarterly taxes on whatever income he has.
Yeah.
And he told me that he tried that one time several years back, and they didn't like that, and they penalized him, and they said, hey, we want your money quarterly. We want to work on your money.
I mean, tell you what, Drew. I don't know how much money you guys earn.
Oh, between us, between 55 and 60.
All right, I want you to hold on a minute. Would you do that for me?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to see if there's an accountant out there, or maybe somebody who works with the Internal Revenue Service who is knowledgeable. When somebody turns up like this young fella and deliberately claims a ton of exemptions, but pays their taxes appropriately by the following April 15th, is there, and this is a guy, family income 50 grand, something like that order, 50, 60. How does the IRS view that return when it comes through the mill? The number is 703-413-8381. Let me repeat that. 703-413-8381. I'd really appreciate it if you get on the horn, and we'll keep True here kind of in telephone limbo while we go on to somebody else. But I really appreciate a kind of the benefit of your knowledge. 703-413-8381. All right, Danny, you put True away here for time being. And let me see. We're going to go on to Lowell, Massachusetts. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
Hey, it's like talking to an old friend.
Well, thank you very much. That is probably the best compliment one can pay a talk show host.
Well, thank you. Say, Bruce, the reason that I'm calling is I've heard you say many, many times that when you buy a house, you should have an attorney, and there's obviously a lot of pitfalls when you buy a house.
I believe that to be the case.
Well, I'm on the opposite end. I'm fortunate enough now that within the next few months, I will be paying off the mortgage on my primary residence, in fact, my only residence, my condominium.
Yeah.
Is there anything I need to watch out for when I make that final payment? Anything I need to do?
Just be certain that they return the documents to you paid, satisfied is what I'm looking for.
Well,
and then wait a while.
Okay.
And then you got to go. Either they have to go to the courthouse where it's been filed and file the satisfaction.
Okay, so now they will then. So if I went to the bank, let's say my final payment is $400. I go in there with $400 and I pay them.
Yeah, they're going to tell you come back in 2 months.
Really?
For a month. Yeah, they're not going to have it sitting right there waiting for you.
What if I prepare them in advance?
Even so.
Oh, okay.
First of all, they may or may not hold the mortgage.
Yeah, I think it has been sold somewhere else.
Yeah, that's exactly so. But the major, and it doesn't matter if you get it in a month or two, unless you're planning on peddling it right away. And even there. Okay, but the thing that you do want to keep remember is in some cases the lender will file a satisfaction. In other cases, they will not.
So I need to ask them then.
That's right, because I remember one time when I went back to get a mortgage on a piece of property, the satisfaction never been filed. And it was a nuisance because it was several years old, and they said, you owe a couple $100,000. What are you talking about? It's paid for. Turns out that it wasn't filed.
Okay, now, the satisfaction is what? Something that goes to the courts that says I paid for this?
The obligation that you currently have is recorded at the county courthouse.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, it is.
Okay.
And it has to be, there's probably a fee involved, too. And I couldn't tell you what it could be. A few dollars could be, several dollars.
Okay.
And you want the satisfaction. It's no big thing. Do you need an attorney? I think you probably handle it yourself. It would be disingenuous to tell you I do those things myself. I don't. I don't like to do that stuff. I'd rather devote my time to what I know I can do well. And anytime I have I paid off 2 or 3 mortgages recently because it seemed to me the thing to do with what I was getting on my money when I was paying. And in each instance, I had my attorney handle the entire transaction.
Okay, but when it finally happens, the bank then will at some point give me what, a title, like a car title?
No, they'll return the deed to you.
Okay.
And they'll also, if you signed a whole bunch of papers, the bond and whatever.
Right.
This will be returned to you marked paid.
Okay.
This is also recorded. The reason it's recorded is so that the world is on notice that you don't own this thing free and clear.
I see.
But you can't borrow money against it without them being first in line.
Okay, so and those papers then they're at
the county seat.
Okay, and so I would take those to the county seat to register that the.
Well, no, I'm back up.
Okay.
In some instances, the lender, in the ordinary course of events, will file the appropriate satisfactions, which is easier for your side.
All right.
In other cases, they don't. You got to ask.
Okay.
If they're going to, or you can start the conversation with, you will be filing, among other things, you'll be filing the satisfaction, will you not? And they'll just say yes or no.
Okay.
And then you'll have to do it yourself if they don't do it.
Okay.
But it's not a real complicated thing. But as I said, I have to tell you, I have not done this myself in I can't tell you how long.
Okay.
Well, because I just feel I practice what I preach. I don't do those things which I think a professional should do. If I get a notice from the IRS, there is no way in the world I'm going to answer that. I give it to an accountant to answer, so he makes the appropriate answer. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and I have to pay him 6 times as much to bail me out.
Okay, well, I'm like you. I'm a physician.
Uh-huh.
I don't do handiwork.
Case closed. Yeah, you don't work with skill saws, do you?
That's right.
I hope not. In your case, doctor, I think you can well afford to give your attorney a shout and use your time a lot more productively.
Great.
I do wish you well, guy. I'm Bruce Wiggins. This is Talknet. I'm chatting with a young fellow from Klamath Falls, Oregon. He has got himself way over deducted, so he doesn't have anything withheld. And what are the tax implications, and can you do this kind of stuff? Well, there are 2 things to concern yourself with, the state tax as well as the federal tax. So first of all, we have an accountant from Salem, Oregon. Hello there.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
What has this rascal been doing, and can he get away with it?
Actually, here in the state of Oregon, I'm an employee of the Department of Revenue. I get off at 4 o'clock, and on the drive home, I overheard the conversation.
You were eavesdropping.
I was, yes. There aren't any penalties for over adjusting on your W-4 like that.
As long as you got the bread when it comes time to pay the tax. Huh?
Exactly. There are penalties for non-payment, and those are dependent upon different factors, but I don't believe that that's one of them.
Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't everybody do this then?
I don't know. Probably with the tax laws changing so rampantly sometimes, it would be easy to make a miscalculation.
Well, how about going
I
this
believe he has. If he's taking 30% of his net, he's probably going to be short.
That's what I said. But
anyway,
going beyond that, is your state then tied in with the Fed? Meaning the same number of exemptions apply to both. You can't claim 2 exemptions on the state and 9 with the Fed, or can you?
It depends on what the requirements are for those exemptions with the Fed. And I'm not looking.
Well, no, forget about Forget about the requirements. But is it possible to file 2 separate documents so you can have a different percentage held?
No.
No, it has to be the same for both.
Correct.
Most states are tied in that way. That's why I asked the question.
Right.
Thank you so very much, Guy. I appreciate it. And we go to Boise, Idaho. Hello there for the federal slant. Boise, are you there? Danny. We lost Boise. Well, I hope if Boise's listening, he'll call back. In the meantime, hang on, Klamath Falls, because I want to find out what the federal thing is here. But we'll go to Dallas, Texas to pick up the marbles. Hello.
Hello, Bruce?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a high point of at least this year to be speaking with you, sir.
Well, boy, that is high praise. Thank you very much. Either that or you had a very dull life, one or the other.
No, you are a definitive source of information just on tap. So
okay.
I'm glad
Thanks
to give
very
you
much,
tap
guy.
today.
Appreciate it. What's up?
Well, this is one of these maybe Shangri-La jobs that really don't exist. Everybody thinks they do. And just in conversations over the week with friends, just basically to describe the job is a courier where you take the proprietary, sensitive, or maybe a very fragile object, and that most companies don't want to be entrusted to some of the more standard ways of delivering things through the companies.
For the most part, this is not a job, however. These couriers do exist, nowhere near in the numbers that people would like you to believe, but they do exist, but they don't get paid. As a matter of fact, they usually pay a little bit.
That wouldn't be a fun job.
Well, the idea, and it's not so much fragile or proprietary as much as they can take in the baggage. It's sometimes cheaper to fly somebody and let them check their bags than it is to ship the stuff express. Now, I think that is less and less a reality, too.
Okay.
There was a time when that was very much the case. But with the competition and the ubiquitousness of the overnight express services, which constantly amaze me. I mean, I sat here when I was doing the program last night and filled out a FedEx package for my son in Texas and talked to his secretary this morning at 10 o'clock. It's there. That's amazing when you think about it. But the point is that the air freight in many cases is so much lower than it once was, that the courier thing is a less and less a reality. And internationally, maybe still alive and well. But it's the question that you get to go on the trip, and sometimes you even pay a small amount of the ticket price. But let's assume the trip is free. That's it. You don't get paid.
So there is no company hidden somewhere with a minute or insignificant little storefront operating this vast network, or
if there is,
company.
It has not come to my attention. There are, as I said, there are still companies that hire, I use that word maybe ill-advisedly, that have people take the trip so they can check the baggage in and maybe pay the overage and whatever. They're not allowed to have any check-in baggage, only carry-ons. And they probably have to be responsible to turn it over to somebody on the other end. But they're few and far between. There's not anywhere near as common as folklore would let you believe. And they don't get paid. That much I can tell you.
Okay, well, I appreciate your information now that I know not to try and keep looking in the,
the yellow
miscellaneous papers for,
Shangri-La, not yet.
All right, thank you, Bruce.
Hey, I appreciate your call, guy. Let's go to Rochester. Got myself an accountant. Hello there. Rochester, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, son. I thought we lost you. I was going to get panicky here.
Oh, no.
All righty. Let's reframe the question. Essentially, a guy has put a 9 on his W-4, so no money is being taken out of his pay. How does the federal government respond to that?
Well, if he owes more than $500 at the end of the year on his tax bill, they will penalize him. And they view that as being, you have to pay it in ratably throughout the year. So if you're a self-employed person paying quarterly installments, they look at how your income comes in. And they want you.
But he's not self-employed.
Okay, so
he just put 9 down on his W-4, and then puts what he thinks is an appropriate amount of money in a savings account or some other investment vehicle, so he can reap the interest. But my understanding was, too, that I didn't know the parameters and numbers, but the government doesn't really like people to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, they're looking for the money to come into as withholding at the same rate, so to speak, as it comes into the person as income.
Right.
So what he could do would be have no withholding for the first 9 months of the year, let's say. And then in the last quarter of the year, he could pay in everything through withholding.
No check at all, huh?
Yeah, that takes a lot of self-discipline, though. And because withholding is considered paid in ratably throughout the year, that would mean as long as he didn't owe more than $500 at the end of the year, there would be no penalty to the IRS.
But in his case, he's going to owe more than 5, so he's going to be penalized unless he gets the money in between now and December 31st.
Yeah, and the penalties and interest that they would charge would more than offset any income that he could get from holding it in a savings account.
Oh, unless you get very lucky. You got that right, because the penalties are what killed you.
Yeah.
What's the interest rate now?
I'm not sure exactly. I think it runs around 8% for penalties, something like that.
The penalties are higher than that. The penalties can be half again what you owe. Or
yeah, it gets expensive.
The penalties can run 50% in some cases.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd do that in this case.
No.
It's probably not worth it, though. That's the bottom line, I think.
Very well. Thanks very much, Guy. I really appreciate it. Hey, I want to go back to Klamath Falls. Are you still there, Guy?
Bruce, I'm still here.
All right, here's what you want to be thinking about doing.
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
What you want to be thinking about doing is figuring out what you're going to owe the government next year, right now, December, right? And then having your pay completely withheld and your wife's completely withheld, and if you have to give your boss a little extra, have him send it in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think the penalties are going to murder you.
That's really disheartening.
Well, you see, with all due respect, you're looking for an angle, right?
Well, I don't
listen. I've been angling all my life. That's not a criticism.
No, I pay my taxes, religiously. I have no problem. I mean, I believe in paying taxes, and
I don't. Not if I can avoid it.
Well, I guess you grew up in this society, so
right. I take every edge I can grab.
Do it, but heck, you work hard enough for your money. You want to, of course, you want to make what you can.
But you see, the point is that the reason the withholding system was developed was an awful lot of people couldn't pay.
Yeah.
They didn't have the discipline to save the money.
Yeah.
Now, the fact is, you were in a situation on December, whatever today is, 2 or 3 of 1994. Now, what you might want to consider doing is going to your boss and your wife going to her boss and say, I don't want any more money this year.
Yeah.
I want you to take it all and send it in on your 941. Now, he'll know what you're talking about.
Okay.
He'll know exactly. Then that'll be added to your W-2 when it's set out in January of next year.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're liable to wind up paying a ton of money in penalties, and I don't think you want to do that.
No, sir, I don't.
Good luck, guy.
Hey, Bruce, I just wanted to wish you happy holidays. I really love your show.
Well, thank you very much. From our family to yours, I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Dumfries, Virginia. Hello there.
Hi.
Hello, baby.
How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Good.
Getting all primed up for the holidays here.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
What's on your minds?
Well, I'm.
You're not. I think said a nice girl like you, that would never happen.
Hey.
Hey.
My sisters and I we've brainstormed, and we've come up with this great idea that we want to open a banquet hall.
Oh, boy.
For our particular customs and stuff like that.
What are your particular customs and stuff like that?
Well, we're from Afghanistan, and the way that they do weddings and banquets is a little bit different than...
Things are different in Kabul, huh?
Well, yeah, they're really different there, but we're talking about here right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty messy. But the customs are a little bit different. Afghan weddings and banquets and stuff are much different than the way Americans would normally hold them.
All right, let me ask you a real quick, hard question. Are there enough Afghans to support this habit?
Well, let me put it this way. I know one friend who has an Afghan restaurant who has a very large room in his restaurant, has a 7-month waiting list.
For weddings, you mean?
To rent his banquet hall, to rent his room in his restaurant.
For what purpose? See, the point I'm trying to get to is non-Afghans as well as Afghans might rent the back room.
Oh, no, these are going to be pretty much Afghans.
All right, and they're just for special purposes?
Special occasions, engagement parties, weddings, concerts, birthday parties, if the family is...
What is your first name, dear?
Mary.
Mary, the problem that you want to consider, I'm not trying to shoot you down.
Okay.
But when you're on the outside looking in, it always looks like there's a ton of business.
Absolutely.
And when you get there on the inside, sometimes, I remember 1,000,000 years ago when I first opened when it wasn't trendy as it is today. Today they call them daycare centers. We call them nursery schools. Maybe there was a difference to that. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to me, because I had a couple little children, 3 I think at the time, that everybody had a waiting list. And boy, this must be like, just duck soup. Well, it turned out it wasn't duck soup. That maybe everybody had a waiting list, but we sure didn't have one for quite some time.
Wow.
And so what I'm trying to get to is that before you dump a whole lot of money into this, you might want to think it out very thoroughly. Now, it would just seem to me there's another permutation which you might want to consider.
Okay.
And that is, sure, you could offer all of the Afghan cuisine and whatever and whatever customs are necessary. I have no idea what they may or may not be. I suspect, first of all, the weddings would be more Muslim.
That's correct.
Than Gentile.
Uh-huh.
But on the other hand, I wouldn't knock off the roast beef and peas. In other words, if somebody walks in there named Murphy, I would want to throw him out. You see what I'm saying? So you could kind of you go into a seafood restaurant, you'll check the menu. Usually there's a steak on there sneaking around someplace.
Oh, sure. I don't disagree with you at all on that. I would by no means turn away anybody with the name of Murphy or...
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you have to also have the stuff that Murphy eats.
Oh, sure.
It may not be lamb and curry and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me maybe just give you a little bit more background if I could.
Sure.
Our theory is, it's going to be a family thing because there's several sisters involved here, but if it were to be an Afghan occasion, what we would do is contract with an Afghan cook. Okay, we would have the banquet hall equipped with the kitchen, and the cook would come in and prepare the food. Now, if Mr. Murphy wanted to come in and rent the hall, I have no problem with that. I would be able to provide him with
the corned beef and cabbage or whatever happens to be, right?
Or he could bring his own cook in to prepare the food, or have his own caterer come in and do that.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Why not?
Because you're whacking it up too thin. The idea, you say bring the caterer in and whatever. This is where the profits are. You can't afford to let somebody else come in and cater in your place. Because he's got to make a profit. He's got to bring his people in and whatever. The idea of having kind of the chef de jour may or may not work. Because the problem there is you can't make commitment until, okay, I come in and I want to book this great Afghan event, but you can't make commitment until we know that the chef, whatever his name is, Abdul, is available that day. I think that you have to be... Let me ask this of you.
Okay.
Is there some reason why you couldn't have somebody who was knowledgeable in both, we'll call it continental cuisine as well as the specialities that you're describing? You always got to have somebody on the pad is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I thought of it that way. My thinking was I could perhaps, have a contract written up with this chef or cook
what
or
else
whatever.
is he doing? What else is he doing for a living, this guy?
I don't know.
Well, that's the problem, you see. He's working for me that night. That he's not going to come work for you. Is what I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I
think it's in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to do this, you got to do it like a business.
Yeah.
And a business means you got a staff.
Well, that's the thing, though. We've never had our own business, so we don't know how to get started.
Well, I'll tell you this, you're getting into a very, very competitive enterprise. Now, I got a little problem here that's called time. So, Mary, if you want to hang out for a minute, we'll get back together, okay?
Okay, sure.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talk.
New car or something.
Well, I see but you're putting it in this interest. Suppose you had it in treasuries.
Yeah.
You'd only get $2,800.
Yeah, you're right. It just seemed to me like that. As the last couple of years, I've been putting into that thing $300 a month.
Yeah, but the beginning you put in very tiny little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Sure, I did.
79. I mean, it's 79. It's 15 years.
I know.
And with interest, you haven't put out. I bet you didn't average $1,000 a year.
I bet you're right. Sure. I'm probably sure I didn't. I agree.
So you're kicking yourself now.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 52.
Now what are you going to do? You're 52 years old.
Oh, I'm not going to quit. No, I've got other work to do.
What are you going to do?
I have a little shop. We sell boats and stuff on the side.
Models or real boats?
Real ones.
Huh.
Yeah.
From art to boats.
Oh yeah.
Good luck with it, guy.
Okay, thanks for taking my call.
You're very, very welcome. It looks like a ton leaving your paycheck when you're making a contribution, but then you sit down and figure it out. When you get along, it's so much easier if you can start young. Tucson, Arizona, hello.
Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. Pleasure talking to you.
Well, I'm very happy you're here, guy. What's on your mind?
Hey, I got an interesting item in the mail I thought I'd pass along to you. This is a credit card survey of some type, and it's from some nationally recognized market research organization.
Now, wait a minute. Let's stop right there.
Okay, go ahead.
Nationally recognized by whom?
I have no idea. It doesn't tell you that.
Well, how do you know they're nationally recognized? Because they tell you?
They tell you. I'm just reading you kind of the excerpts from this letter in the front part of it.
Okay, I just didn't want you going for the hook. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's a 4-page questionnaire about asking about all the different credit cards you have, if your payments are automatically deductible or automatically deducted, what your credit limits are. It goes through in excruciating detail on what type of credit cards they are, credit lines, and it asks for information on your cars, computers,
sex life.
Geez, just about everything. Age, occupation, own a home. Got a big long list of.
What is the purpose of this information?
All they say in this letter is they're interested in finding out how people like yourself use credit cards, what type of things you buy with them, and how frequently you use them. Now, the real kicker in here is they want you to fill out this 4-page questionnaire, which is long in itself, and then you're supposed to send that back in. Then they're going to send you every month some sort of record book that you're supposed to keep track of all your credit card transactions on, and then send it back to them after a year. So you're supposed to do this every month for a year. And that's all they tell you.
And for doing all this, what do you get?
They don't. Oh, they say from time to time throughout the duration of the 12-month study, we will send you a gift as a token of our appreciation.
Well, they can token their appreciation, right?
Yeah, really.
Gotta be kidding me.
This is bizarre. Have you ever heard anything like this?
Well, it may very well be a legitimate market research of some kind.
Yeah. I don't know whoever would...
Well, I can't... There's the question. What kind of a patsy would provide all this information?
I mean, you know...
Gratuitously or otherwise.
Yeah, really. And you're supposed to keep track of every credit card purchase for a whole year?
Well, listen.
That's crazy.
Well, it's not crazy from their perspective. It's crazy if you want to go along with it.
Yeah, true.
But there are but there are so many people out there that really are flattered when someone wants them to become part of something like this.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there could be any, subversive, or not subversive, but any underlying...
There could be, but I doubt it.
...thing going on. I guess something in this detail probably wouldn't be.
I would think not.
Yeah. I just thought it was very interesting.
Well, as I said, first of all, I'm not record-oriented. Just get me to fill out the stuff I have to fill out in life is a struggle.
Right.
And I can imagine me sitting there thinking, well, I'll just write all this stuff down for a year. Sure it will.
Yeah, really.
Sure it will.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, me and Scheherazade. I too wish you well, guy.
Okay, thank you much.
You're very, very welcome. I'm Bruce Williams. I'm so glad you're here. This is Talknet. Hello there, Buffalo. Welcome to my world.
Hi, Bruce. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing real well, thank you.
Good. My question for you this evening is, do we as patients have the medical rights, or have the rights to a copy of our own medical records?
That gets a little hairy.
It does?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Well, because people are very reluctant to give it to you unless there's a specific reason, or to give it to someone who is qualified to understand what they're getting.
But so as a patient,
why do you ask the question? Maybe
okay, because I'm having a problem with my foot, and I've been going to a bunch of different doctors in my area, and I'm now in the process of I may be wanting to forward it on to a larger medical center somewhere else in the country.
Well, you see, the appropriate way to handle that is have the larger medical center request the records, not you.
Okay. Well, what I've done locally is when I've gone to different doctors here and they requested the medical records from a previous doctor, I call the previous doctor, they say we need it in writing. So I send it to them in writing, forward my records to this next guy. So I kind of have to keep up with them after it takes a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but you see, you just enunciated what I just said. You didn't get the records. You said it's sent to the next guy.
Right. My question is, why won't they just give me a copy and then I can forward it to these different...
Well, because they're afraid that you might want to use this in some untoward way. Everybody's scared to death about being sued. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Now, can you get your hands on them if you really want to? Yeah.
But
why bother?
Oh, it's not really worth the headache because they're really...
Well,
I just figured it'd be easier to have them, and then as I get requests for them, I can just forward them out instead of chasing after all these different doctors to send them out.
I think that you're spinning your wheels.
No, it's not worth it, huh?
I wouldn't think so.
No, I thought maybe legally we were entitled.
I don't know
I
don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know there's an argument whether they're your records.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they're ours.
Well, I said, but there is an argument. You're saying they are, and there is an argument whether they are. They're going to maintain they're not your records. They are their records.
Okay. Like it's probably not worth the time in arguing with them. Just
not if you look. The reality is you're trying to get from point A to point B, and you're getting there. Unless it's a real rough trip, I would just continue on the way I'm going.
Let it go that way. Okay, another quick question I have for you. Are you aware, is there a reference guide or a place to get information that might rank medical centers in the country by area of specialty?
Not that I know of.
No. Okay.
Because we're into some very subjective things. You're going to say that you want somebody that's, we'll say, the top area for gynecology for the sake of discussion. Who decides what's top? Who decides who's the best guy? Everybody talked to is my guy's the best around. It's good that you think that way.
I know.
But who decides who's best? I don't know the answer. Now, obviously, there are places that have a reputation. Sloan Kettering has a very, very well-earned reputation for cancer treatment and research. I think we can agree on that, right? But certainly every list is an exclusion list here, but in Rochester, Minnesota, what's the name of the clinic?
Mayo Clinic.
Mayo Clinic certainly enjoys a stellar reputation. Children's Hospital in Boston, Teaching Hospital in Philadelphia. So there's a bunch of places that have great reputations. I do wish you well, dear.
Okay, thanks so much.
Good talking to you. All righty, let me see where we were. We're Buffalo. We're going to Fairfield, Iowa. That's where we're going. Hello.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, baby.
I had a solution for the cat door, and I just wanted you and the fellow that called in to know about it.
Slow down, because that was a different hour.
Oh.
All right. Somebody, they brought down to its essence. A guy had a cat door in his house. The neighbor's cat's coming in and crapping all over his house. Your turn.
Oh, well, I don't know if his door you can do it with, but my son got a door where his cats wear a collar that has a little magnet on it. As they come up to the door, it opens. I mean, it just clicks and they can go through it.
But without the collar, that's interesting. I never heard of that.
And then the same way going out. But the other cat or wild animal that comes up, as he was having problems with wild animals.
Well, it wasn't a wild animal. It was a domestic cat next door.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the other cat comes up to the door and it can't come in. It's locked. It can put its head up to the door, but
what happens if one of the other guys is walking in? Can he come in behind him like we do in the gates on apartment houses?
I doubt it. He'd be that quick. As soon as the cat's in,
well, if it gets a chance to flop down, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I never heard of that. That seems like it might be a decent solution, but I'd still get rid of that cat.
Yeah.
I wish you well, dear.
I just wanted you to know.
I appreciate that. I've never heard of that. And I'm sure that you passing it along is a good idea. Thank you very much. Wichita, Kansas. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question. I'm planning a honeymoon in July. And
I'm not free. I'd like to go with you, but I can't make it.
We want to go to the Caribbean, and we've never been. And we're looking at either Jamaica, Barbados, or St. Lucia. And we're also looking at all.
How did you pick those three?
They got nice-looking brochures.
That's no way to pick them.
We have no clue.
Of the three that you mentioned, my choice would be Barbados.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Would not be Jamaica, certainly.
Okay.
I just don't like Jamaica, though. I'm prejudiced. Let's start with that.
Are they all owned by the British?
No. Jamaica's an independent country, so is Barbados.
Okay.
They used to be years ago.
I see.
The Caymans, I think, are still under their British mandate. I'm not sure of that. The Bahamas used to be their independent nation. The only one that I can think of, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this, would be Bermuda.
I see. Is there anything you could tell me about all-inclusive resorts?
You're talking about things like Club Med and whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're okay. It depends upon what you're looking for.
Yeah.
If I just wanted to hang out,
right,
I would have no problem with that because at least you know what you're going to spend.
Right. Well, it's a honeymoon, so we're not going backpacking or, much of that.
Well, you see, but it's interesting, without getting too personal, honeymoon's not what they used to was.
True.
Honeymoons used to be, that's when people got acquainted and carnally acquainted, okay?
Right.
Well, today, 99% of the couples have long since dispensed with that formality. Is that true?
That's true.
All right. So it's a vacation we're talking about, to kind of rest up from all of the festivities, but not a honeymoon in its ordinary sense.
Are there any red flags that you should look for in an all-inclusive place, or are they
not really?
Pretty much up front.
They're pretty much up front.
Okay.
As I said, I can't imagine spending a week on St. Lucia.
Okay.
I mean, that's the kind of place you spend 3 weeks there one night.
Is that right?
That's just my personal opinion. There's nothing to do there. From what I recall, I've only been there a couple of times, and I don't want to go back.
Okay.
Jamaica is not. I've never liked Jamaica, so that's another story.
Okay.
The Caymans, which is down that part of the Caribbean, is a very pleasant place to visit, but there's nothing to do there either. But that's okay. If you just want to hang out, that's a good place to hang out. I like Barbados. I like Antigua. I'm starting to get different opinions of St. Martin. I never was not real wild about St. Martin, but that's okay. I was in St. Martin a couple of weeks ago. I was favorably disposed.
I had one other question.
Yeah.
All the brochures say average temperature is 82 degrees.
It's plenty hot. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
June in the Caribbean, I don't care where you go.
Okay.
You got nothing to worry about warm weather. You're going to find lots of it.
Okay.
And, and there's some other places you haven't mentioned. I don't know why.
Well, we haven't looked at any other places.
Aruba would be certainly worth consideration. Curacao would be worth consideration. I have not been to Grenada since the liberation thing, so I don't know how I was there beforehand. There's no place to stay. That may or may not have changed.
Right.
St. Thomas is certainly worthy of a consideration, as is San Juan.
Okay.
Puerto Rico is one of my favorite places. If you want a little bit of action and whatever, and just not to lay around and vegetate, that certainly at least deserves your consideration. I do wish you well, kid. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Let's go to the city of churches. Brooklyn, New York. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a problem. Maybe you could help me out.
Yes.
About end of October, I applied for a mortgage through a mortgage broker for a two-family house with a doctor's office in the house, and I'm a doctor. It is going to be my primary residence as well. And the bank was informed of this information. And they said that since it would be a primary residence and the percentage of the property which is going to be allocated for the office is small, they would view the property as a residential property. They quoted me a rate, and the rate was locked in for 90 days. A month and a half later, they went and they appraised the house. And now they're claiming that they don't want to view the property as residential, but they want to view it as commercial, and they want to wiggle out of the rate and raise it substantially.
Well, are they? You say the question of viewing it. I think what's going to happen here, or what is happening, is they may feel they can't put it into one of the programs because the people that you're dealing with are not going to hold that mortgage.
Okay.
That's almost always the case. They're going to go to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, one of those guys.
Okay.
And they may have come to the conclusion that the property doesn't qualify.
Okay, but where does the bank's the commitment from the bank?
The bank may. Are you represented by counsel?
Yeah. I just found out this information today, so I haven't had a chance.
Because
my lawyer yet.
I was involved in a mortgage in New York State.
Okay.
And when New York City and New York State are a little peculiar, as you may know. Very peculiar, but in the area of mortgages, they're peculiar. And the way it's taxed, and all that sort of good stuff. Right. The point is that at the closing, they decided that they had a problem because they didn't feel they could sell it. To package it and sell it. So that's your problem, Matt. I didn't misrepresent. And we went at it, and I said, well, my lawyer said, listen, we're going to have a hell of a lawsuit here. And I wish at the time, now, in retrospect, I wish they'd killed the deal for me. The real estate market in Manhattan went to hell after that. But the point is that they put that mortgage on their shelf, which is what may happen here.
Okay. Do I have a cause for action?
I don't know that, but I talk to my attorney and tell him to find one.
Okay. Because
I'm surprised. You see, you told me you had a commitment for whatever period of time, but the appraisal wasn't done for 6 weeks. How come?
That I don't know.
Was the commitment made on a specific property? It must have been.
Yeah, specific property, address given, and all the information.
And you were very candid on the application.
Yeah, 100%.
How much of the property is office related, percentage wise?
Maybe 15% or less.
You're
looking at a two-family, 4 bedrooms each apartment.
And it's appropriately zoned and so forth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think perhaps I think that's what they're afraid of. That their appraisal, when they actually had somebody physically look at it, they came back with a notion that this property is not going to be easily packaged and sold. See if I'm not right. Germantown, Ohio. Hello there.
My wife and I have just had our first child, a little baby girl.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. And we're both professionals. I'm a teacher, and she's an engineer for the government. And I pay into my state teacher's retirement.
and we also have an annuity on the side, and she pays into the government retirement. Now, with Sarah, you know, it opens up a whole new ball game for us, and we want to start saving for her college education. Now, Ohio has now instituted a thing called the Ohio Tuition Trust Program.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Do you really?
Oh, it's an idea that's time is overdue.
Okay.
This is a program where you can give them a flat amount of money right now, and when your kid is ready, the college tuition is paid.
Okay, what
is that true?
Holiday bestsellers. How about
how much money do they for a newborn? How much?
Well, how about holiday bestsellers
right
from
now
your AT&T
the
phone
credit
center?
rate is
Yeah,
around,
now some of our most popular gifts are on sale, like selected AT&T cordless phones and
How
answering
much do you have to give them
perfect
in
for someone
cash
you love
right
who's on the go. The AT&T Clock Radio Telephone 340 makes a great gift.
That's
Your
your
AT&T
generation
phone center has a big selection of holiday bestsellers on
You
sale.
walk in with a check, pay the whole thing right now. How much?
So you should too. Sale ends December 31st while supplies last.
That's the
At your
way to do
AT&T phone center.
Okay, I could do
News Radio 630, KIDO, talking to you, with you, and about you. It's Bruce Williams.
It's 200 credits at a certain number of dollars per credit.
Well, you said
$10,000.
That's high.
Well, if it guaranteed 4 years of...
I'm aware of that, but that's still high.
Okay.
For a child at birth, I would think the number would be closer to 4,000 cash.
Really?
Yeah, but you're going to pay it off over this long period of time. $50 a month for how many months?
Right.
Let's figure that. If it was $10,000, be $600. That's over 10, 12 years.
Okay.
Well, that's why it's so high. Most of that's interest.
All right. Well, I understand it's going to be going up.
But my point is, you'd be better off to pay the lump sum.
Okay.
And borrow it elsewhere. I think you'll find, first of all, you would be paying it for 10 or 12 years. You paid off in a couple of years.
Right.
And you'd be much better off to do it that way.
Okay.
But
now, what about the flexibility involved there? That's locked in and...
Well, I don't know what your plan offers. Some schools, for example, in some states, they have reciprocity with other states.
Okay, yes, they have that.
And some do not.
Right.
Well, let's hear me out.
Yes, sir.
In some cases, if your kid doesn't go, all you do is get the money. You don't get any interest.
Okay.
And your child still has to meet all the entrance requirements.
Right.
But it is a hell of a deal.
Okay, well, great. I think got me on the right track there.
Well, I'm surprised, and I'm confident that this will happen. See, there's some tax problems that have to be resolved. But I'm quite confident what's going to happen here is that there will be companies that will set up programs like this where you can apply it to a college of your choice, or they'll have a whole menu of colleges. The competition for the kids is going to be greater because the birth rate is down and so forth. And I can see a whole bunch of stuff here. If I were a bit younger, I'd be thinking very seriously of putting some companies together because I think there'd be a ton of money to be made, and it would serve a very, very important public good. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. To the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi.
I wanted to see if I could get some information, some advice from you.
Let's talk.
I've give you a little background here. I've worked for a company for about 18 years now, and my father worked for the same company for about 10. He went out on his own and started a rep company, and it's been kind of a unique situation for the past 12 years that actually he works for a company that competes with the company I work for. He represents industrial conveying equipment, and he's getting to the point where he's wanting to retire, and I'm thinking about buying out the company.
Buying the company your dad works for?
Well, buying the company that he owns. He's self-employed to a corporation. And
do you have any kind of a problem with your current employer in that regard?
Actually, it is kind of a unique situation in that he also sells other lines of equipment to the company I work for, but he also represents a line that directly competes with our company. So, in that sense, it's kind of a unique situation. But what I was wanting to find out and get some advice, basically ways of going about it. The way we've talked about it is that the company my wife and I would actually become the president and vice president of the corporation.
All right. What posts you hold are not relevant.
Well, the value of the company has yet to be determined. We're talking in the $120,000, $130,000 range.
What?
If
wait a minute, you said it wasn't determined, then you gave me a number.
Well, for talking purposes, I gave you that. The receivables in the company, the back commissions and so forth, are in the $65,000 range. And then, of course, you have the contracts with the various companies that he represents, which they could yank at any time. I understand that, but the name is well established and has been for a number of years. The prospect that's been brought up by some of the accountants that he's talked to was that we would become owners of the company and would actually retain him and pay him so much a year. Since he is 68 now, he can only earn so much a year.
Well, if he doesn't want to be Social Security penalized,
right.
He can earn as much as he wants to earn.
Sure,
but it will be penalized. He'll be Social Security, but reduced proportionally.
Correct.
But let me first of all let's start at the beginning, okay? You shouldn't buy his company.
Okay.
What you should buy is the assets and liability, the assets and the contracts. But it should be a different company. That way, if there are any hidden liabilities that come that his company gets dissolved, then you're not on the hook.
Well, that was a question that I had too. I know in the type of equipment that we deal with, material handling equipment that's in factories and so forth, there are a lot of liabilities.
Trust me on this one. It should be an assets-only sale.
In a rep organization, I had one of my reps in the Chicago area that we were named in a lawsuit, and they were also named because it came through them.
Right.
And most reps don't carry insurance for that.
Well, that's terrific. But what am I just get through saying to you? It should be an assets-only deal. Now, if we go forward from that point, you may or may not want to carry insurance. I would be uncomfortable if I didn't have any.
Yeah.
But the fact is, do you understand what an assets-only sale is?
Well, that would be basically the assets of the
No, it's not. The word basically is not appropriate here.
Okay.
Do you understand what an assets-only sale is? Serious.
Well, it doesn't include the receivables and all that.
Yes, it does. That's an asset.
Okay.
What it does, for example, let's assume that the name of your dad's company is Blue Sky Incorporated, right? You're going to call you can call yours Blue Skies. Very close. But it's a brand new corporation that you and your bride or whoever start.
Correct.
A brand new company. And you are purchasing from Blue Sky the receivables, whatever is if there's an inventory, the boat pads and whatever, but you're only buying assets. You are not buying the business. Now, it's very important to understand that.
So the subtleties in the difference in the name, you still get the name recognition.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you don't. But it's a separate corporation, or even it can be even worked out where the first company leases or the name can be transferred, but it is not the same company. It may look the same, smell the same, and taste the same, but it ain't the same.
Correct.
That way, if there's some piece of equipment lurking out there that's ready to explode, that's your father's problem, and it really isn't his because that corporation that he owned is now going to go away.
It's dissolved.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So be very careful with that. You go broke if you don't.
How do you... There is some value in having the lines and having the contracts with these other companies, and that I know cannot be assessed with the value of the company or net worth of the company.
Well, yes, it can. It can be taken into account. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to determine what the company is worth or what you did, but those are things that can be worked out. And furthermore, if you're going to work it, let's face it, I hope you're not trying to cut your father's throat.
No.
All right, so you're sitting there. There are subtle ways to work this out where it's to his and your advantage in terms of the assets. There was paying him the consulting fees and whatever as contrasted with paying him a whole bunch of money up front. And there are times when it's better off to pay him the money up front, given the fact that he's a Social Security, what's the term, beneficiary, collector, whatever you want to call it. And furthermore, if it's paid one way, it'd be a capital gain as opposed to ordinary income. And there's a lot of variables here, and if you don't sit down with decent accountants and lawyers, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, no, we've been doing that. I've listened to your show for a couple of years, and you give some good advice, and one of the definite things that I have listened to is talk to accountants and lawyers, and we've done that to a certain extent. I thought maybe there was some other angle we could go about this or something.
Well, there are lots of angles. That's what I'm trying to point out to you. But without knowing the subtleties of your dad's situation, your mother. For example, is your mother still alive?
Yes, she is.
Oh, well, stand by now.
She gets a salary from the business, too.
Well, that's thank you very much.
Okay.
Those are now you're catching on. And those are that she may keep her on as a consultant, too. These are the things that you have to take into account. I do wish you well, my friend. I do indeed. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Jim Harmon, Randy Meyer, and Ted Schneider, along with Redoubtable Dan Rudd, make up our cockpit crew. Good guys to work with, and I am very pleased to have them aboard. Where are we going now, Danny? Plattsburgh, New York. That's the very place. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Okay, it's starting to get a little chilly in your part of the world, isn't it?
Not really. It's 45 today.
Oh, sorry. It gets downright cold up there in the wintertime, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Very cold.
It's a good place to be from. Anyway, what's on your mind?
I was working for an employer, and I left that employer, and I needed some tests done for medical, and I had insurance.
You're mixing things up. Talk to me. Let's start again. You had a job.
Yep.
And you quit.
Right. I got another job.
Okay.
I had insurance with the previous employer.
All right.
And I called. I needed tests done.
Tests? T-E-S-T-S?
Yep. Medical tests. And I called to see if my insurance was still good because they never notified me it was canceled.
Well, wait a minute. You mean the first guy?
Right.
Did you not take the?
They didn't offer me Cobra.
Well, they don't have to offer it. It's yours. You were right to it.
Yeah, but you see, they didn't offer it to me. I didn't know about it, and they told me my insurance was still good, though.
I see.
Because I had paid on it a while before I had gotten it, and they told me it was still good. So I called the insurance company to see if it was good. They said it was good. The employer said it was good. So I went ahead and had the test done. And then, like a month and a half later, I got a bill for the test. The employer back canceled or whatever, retroactively canceled my insurance. So and I had the test done in April. In May, at the end of May, beginning of June, they canceled my insurance for January. So my insurance was canceled as of January 1st.
How can they do that?
Well, you see, that's what I asked.
Were you on the payroll in January?
No, I wasn't.
When did you leave?
In December.
And why would you think that the insurance would still be in place in April?
Well, because I had paid. I had a problem with them. I had paid for my insurance. You see, and I had paid for several months, and I kept having to call them and see if I could get it because I wanted to have things done. And they kept saying, "Well, it's coming," and I tried, and finally they got it to me.
So they canceled the insurance. So what kind of money are we talking about for these tests?
$250.
Well, it's not enough to fight over.
Well, you see, what the thing was is I took them to small claims court.
Okay.
And they can't be taken to small claims court.
Why?
Well, I got a letter that said they're a public benefit corporation. So they can't be taken to small claims court. I was wondering if anything that could be done.
Well, why not go up to the employer?
I did. They don't want to pay it.
I didn't ask you that. Why don't you sue the employer?
That's who I sued, the employer.
Oh, the employer's what kind of a company was it?
It was a...
Was it a hospital or something?
No, it was a off-track betting.
Oh, okay. This is a state organization then.
Right.
Oh, okay. You can't. I understand that.
Okay. Well, the insurance company said. I mean, even the judge agrees that they're at fault, but I can't take them to small claims court, and it costs more to go to civil court than it would.
I think it's just you're going to write this one off and learn from the experience.
Okay.
You should have asked for the COBRA provision.
You see, they offered it. See, I guess it's law that they have to offer it to you.
No, well, it has to be available to you. Now, whether they got to lead you by the hand and tell you about it's another story. I don't know the answer to that.
See, and they offered it to me on October 6th of this year, just before I went to court.
Mm-hmm.
When I filed to go to court, they offered it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you're now covered by your own employee, the new employer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so why would you want to? It cost you a lot more to reinstate it to make the $2,500 claim good.
Right. It was like $1,300.
Exactly.
So.
I think you've been whipsawed.
Okay.
And I don't think there's a whole lot you can do about it.
Okay.
But I'm happy. But next time, bear this in mind. Apply a little logic. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that a policy would be in place 4 months after you leave without something positive being done by you. Now, I'm not going to tell you it couldn't happen, but your good sense ought to tell you that, well, there's a little mouse here. I better look this one over very thoroughly. Happily, it was only a few bucks. If you had some extensive work done, you could be in deep, yes, you do. Hey, my friends, it's been a good hour. That there's somebody there is going to be related to this person.
Right.
Well, then ask them where she is.
Oh, okay. Is it possible to get in touch with, like, the high school they graduated from?
Well, of course.
Could they give that information?
I don't know. What information do you want?
Well, where they would be presently, an address.
How would they know?
Well,
I can't believe that my high school has a clue or cares.
My high school knows where I am.
Well, maybe the Alumni Association
right. That's
does
what I was saying. Would there be...
That's a possibility. All you can look, my dear. What's your first name?
Deb.
Debbie, all you can do is all they can say is no.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
No. Okay. Now, she may have a different last name now.
That's another thing. Well, she could have gotten married.
In fact, the chances are pretty well even that she did.
Right.
Debbie, this is not rocket science.
Right.
Well, I want you to tell you what I want you to do. Let's just see what's going to happen here. Now, let me see. I want you to go to the telephone right now.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to take you. I want Danny to take your phone number, or better yet, Danny's going to give you a telephone number.
Okay.
And I want you to call all 5 of those people in that town and see if they know where Mary Jane is.
Okay.
And then I want you to call me back and see what kind of answers you got. Take little notes, okay?
Okay.
Now, we got to do this whole thing in the next 35 minutes, so, Debbie, you got a lot of calling to do.
All right.
All right, so you hold on. Danny's going to give you a telephone number to call us back before the end of the show.
Okay.
And I want you to call. And you have to ask, you identify yourself. I'm an old friend of a Mary Jane Smith. She may be related to you.
Mm-hmm.
And see what they have to say.
Right.
Take it from that. Identify yourself. You're not a bill collector.
I guess the only thing I'm worried about is if she is married, the only name I have is her maiden name.
I understand that.
Oh, but somebody they could be related. Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
But at the top of the conversation, you identify yourself as an old friend from Girl Scouts or whatever it happens to be, and you relate the locator. That way and you call me back in a couple of minutes.
Now, should I call all that? I mean, I could be calling 50 people here.
Well, you said there are about 5 in the phone.
Well, there's 5 that have her first initial. I went with her name.
Well, fine. Start calling people that last name. How odd is the last name?
Not odd.
In a little burg like that, I'll bet you'll hit somebody.
Okay.
Start calling. Call me back in about a half an hour.
Okay. I'll see what I can come up with.
Okay, Debbie.
Okay, thank you.
We're making a detective out of Debbie on Talknet. That was an out cue, guys. We'll try it another way. I'm Bruce Williams. We're making a detective out of Denny. Okay, Debbie on Talknet. Topeka, Kansas. Hello there. Welcome to my world.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, baby.
I have an idea, and I just wanted to see if you could maybe point out some things I haven't thought about. My husband and I own an older house in an older neighborhood, and most of the houses on the block are fairly nice and nicely kept up and all that. And there's a house next door that is in a bad state of disrepair, I would say. And the house, we know it's going to be going up for sale fairly soon.
Why is it in such bad repair?
It's been handed down through a family, and the people living in it don't actually own it. A relative owns it, and it's just not, no maintenance is performed on it. It looks bad, and it's physically bad. I don't know structurally, but as far as mechanical and electrical, it's pretty bad. I know a lot would have to be done, and just to give you some background, I'm an architectural engineer, so I have a good feel for what would need to be done to it. And what I'm wondering about is if it would be a good idea or a bad idea to possibly try to purchase the house and have it repaired and then possibly sell it or rent it.
You threw a lot of possibly.
Yeah.
And you said, first of all, there's no direct answer to your question. And then, well, hold on now. And there's a reason for that, because there's some other variables here.
Right.
If you could steal a house, really get it at a price, that's one set of circumstances. If you're going to pay top dollar, that's the other extreme.
Right.
And then we get into, are there things that you would be willing and able to do yourself where it's sweat equity as contrasted with hiring contractors? And how much of a hiccup could you absorb? Could you hang on for a time? Let's start with some numbers, shall we?
Okay.
All right, how much is your house worth? I take it your house is one of those that's kept up nicely.
Yes.
I hope so.
We bought it about 5 years ago in the mid-50s. And since then, we've built a new 2-car garage and had some other repairs done. But I would say that it would be around 60 or 65.
Okay. And is that representative of the neighborhood?
Yes, I think so. And as far as the property valuations for taxes...
No, I don't care about that. I don't really care about taxes.
Okay. I think if that house were in good shape, my guess would be that it would probably be worth in the 50s.
Okay.
But one of my big questions is when a house is in a state of repair real bad, how much that affects what it would sell for.
Well, it clearly has an effect, but like anything else, what's your first name?
Julie.
Julie, something is worth what a willing and able buyer is prepared to pay and a seller is willing to accept. So if somebody comes along and says, wow, it's a gorgeous house, it's all cosmetic, and they're willing to pay $80,000 for it, it's worth $80,000. On the other side of that, if they try to sell it and nobody offers them $30,000, it's not worth $30,000. So we don't know what it's worth. All you can do is make a few observations, Julie. And some of them are going to be easy, and some are not going to be so easy, and some are going to be pretty apparent, and some a little less apparent. You're going to have to make a determination, and we are not going to be able to do that here, what it would cost to put that house back in good condition. Now, one of the things, for example, in an older home that you'd take a look at right away is the heating and plumbing systems.
Needs major work.
Yeah, that's right. Another thing you'd be looking at in your part of the world is how well it's insulated. You'd be looking at the roof. Things that are cosmetic, like paint. You and your husband, I think you're a relatively young lady?
Yes.
Okay, you guys can maybe do that yourself. The decorating and whatever you could do yourselves. Finishing the floors you could do yourself. Minor structural stuff. You could certainly cut the grass, reseed, throw in some shrubbery, all that kind of jazz. But I don't know that you'd be capable of putting in a new plumbing system or rebuilding a bathroom.
Yeah, I think that what I would anticipate would be a combination of us doing some ourselves and hiring some done.
But here's the thing, Debbie. Before you go out and make any offers, you're going to have to find some way to get access to that place.
Oh, I've been in it.
All right, but not necessarily just you, Debbie. Unless you know more about plumbing systems and heating systems than I think you do, you'd be wise to hire somebody to come in, a home inspector.
Well, I'm an engineer and I design those kind of systems, so I do know a lot about that.
Okay, well, listen, I didn't in any way appear to be a sexist.
That's okay.
If you can go in and look at an old heating system and decide what kind of life it has in it, that's terrific. But these are the things, you see, that can really destroy you. Things like dry rot that you weren't aware of, or past infestation of some wood destroying insect. Those are things you got to really be careful about.
Yeah,
now
I know the house has termite damage. I do not know if it has termites currently, but we had a termite inspection, and the guy was trying to show me an example, and he looks over to this house on the exterior siding and says, "Oh, there you go." So that's.
Well, see, you're going to have to find out, Debbie, within a reasonable tolerance, what all of this crap is going to take. Let's say it's $10,000 for the sake of discussion.
Okay.
All right. So now, if it's worth $55,000 in pristine condition, it's now maxed out at $45,000, and we certainly aren't going to work that close. And $40,000 wouldn't have any great interest to me. So you probably want to get in there around $30,000, $35,000. But then we have another variable. And the other variable is this place is next door to your house. And it's certainly in bad condition, isn't doing anything for the value of your place, not to mention your quality of life and whatever.
Yeah, in fact, that was another question, was how much a house next to you affects the value of your house. I would think it would.
It can affect it dramatically. You're quite right.
And in fact, that's the main reason why I would even consider doing this, to be honest.
Well, that's certainly a consideration. But those are the things, and then, of course, we come to another variable, don't we? Where's the money coming from? I mean, the cookie jar, is it full?
Actually, we would probably have the means to do something like this.
We
almost have our own house paid for.
Ooh, you're rich for having money. You rascals.
Now, another question I had is, let's say that I tried to purchase this house. Let's just say that it would sell for $30,000, just for the sake of
Okay, fine. We've only got a few seconds, so accelerate.
If the house is in bad repair, will a bank not be willing to give you a loan?
The likelihood is, Debbie, that you would have to, or you'd be better off to borrow the money against your existing home.
Okay. Well, since I have enough collateral on our house, I think we would be able to do that.
Well, you'd probably want to refinance your house, not get a home equity loan. The reason for that is that the home equity loan interest would be considerably greater than a total refinance. If right now you'd probably pay 8.5%, 8.75% on a refinance, you might pay as much as 11% on a home equity loan. But don't take my word for that. Do the shopping, but don't discount the fact that it might be better to borrow the money against the home that you're in as contrasted with trying to borrow against the guy next door. Good luck, sweetheart. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. We're going to be here this evening into the wee hours of the morning from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., taking your calls off the air for broadcast at a future date. The number 800-743-8000. You're invited to participate. Go to Danny Rudd's former hometown, North Bergen, New Jersey. Hello there.
Good evening, Bruce.
Hi, are you the guy that sent the vacuum cleaner back?
No.
Okay.
Not me.
What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call,
You're
first
welcome.
of all. Bruce, I have a question. In November of 93, about a year ago, I bought 2 units of wireless communication.
Due to a radio advertisement, maybe?
Due to a radio advertisement, right.
On a competitive station, on my
a competitive station, too.
Yes, I know exactly where you heard that ad.
Well, what happened is I did this in November of 93. Then in February of 94, they sent me a letter. They said that they were pulling out of the original deal on the original site because they had been misled by the original engineering company. And on the letter, they gave me 4 options. The one option said that if I wanted to, I could have 100% refund of my membership over an 18-month time period. Choice number 2 was to authorize them to conduct necessary studies to relocate the antenna. Number 3, I would authorize them to sell the total assets held by the company. And number 4, I would authorize them to purchase membership in a currently viable operating broadcasting license facility.
How much money did you invest?
$10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Now, what happened is that I would never hear from this company.
So did you elect one of those options?
Yes, I had no choice but to take one of those options.
Well, yeah, well, which option did you elect?
What I did is I gave them authority to purchase membership in another broadcasting facility that already had 27 channels and 1,500 subscribers. So that was that. Then I heard from them in June again, after I inquired from them, and they told me that there had been delays in finalizing the transfer from one place to another. So I gave them a few more months. Then I called back last month in October, and the 800 number that they had was no longer a working number. So what I did, I sent them a letter, certified return receipt, and after 2 weeks I got the letter back saying that they had moved away at a different address. So I sent them another certified letter with a return receipt again at the no address, and nobody accepted the letter. There was nobody there to accept the letter. And the post office said that they gave them 3 notices, and they didn't claim the letter. So the letter came back to me. So now I can't reach them by phone. I can't reach them by mail. And I thought I would call you for some advice.
I'd call the radio station because I think that radio stations and networks, for that matter, that accept this kind of advertising have a much more a higher degree of responsibility. It's one thing to advertise, some cheese or an automobile or a sale at this local or national. That's one thing, okay?
Yes, sir.
But when you start accepting advertising where you encourage people like yourself, particularly on financial programs, and I know the station you were listening to.
You heard this from before, I guess.
Well, I also I spent some time in the metropolitan area, and I listen to talk radio.
Yes, sir.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, I listen to the competition, and it may be one of our stations too. I'd say exactly the same thing.
Right.
That when they accept this kind of advertising, in my opinion, they also take on some responsibility. Frankly, I'd be a little more diligent about accepting the advertising, and I've said that you've heard me say that many times.
Yes, sir.
But in any case, I'd call the advertising department and say, listen, I acted on this because I heard the ad on your station, and we spent some important money, and these people disappeared. I want you to help me find them, see what they have to say for themselves. I'd also call the Federal Trade Commission and see if there's anything they can do with them. But I think that they probably disappeared.
The Federal Trade Commission, how would I reach this? How would I find the address for
it? You can call information. I'm sure there'd be a number somewhere in your case, either in Newark or Manhattan.
Okay.
But I get on the horn with the sales department of the radio station or ask the sales manager. Because I really think that, and he's not going to know. He's going to have to do some homework, but I think they have that responsibility. They would certainly have the banking references from these guys. You can check them out that way. But I think the chances are your money's gone, kid.
Think so?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, okay. I appreciate your advice.
I do wish you well, guy.
Thank you very much.
I really get very, very uptight about some of these commercials you hear for major investing. Now, there's nothing wrong with commercials for investing. Please don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with financial seminars and whatever. But I do believe that there's a responsibility on the part of the advertised medium to take a lot closer look at that type of an advertiser than they would, as they said. I really don't care, to be candid with you, and I shouldn't say, what the hell? If I do a commercial for a cheese and you don't like the cheese, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to lose the slightest bit of sleep over that. But I would be very concerned if I did one and you lost a lot of money on an investment. I don't customarily recommend investments. Just don't do that. I certainly would suggest that you might talk to someone, but I wouldn't recommend an investment as such. I'm just trying to think of an exception, and I can't think of any. I do wish you well. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Hello there, Milwaukee. Welcome to my world.
Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
I am real well.
Good. I'm having a problem. I'm trying to collect some, what I figure is past due wages from a former employer. And what happened, I signed a contract to sell insurance with an agency. And the contract clearly developed an employer-employee relationship.
All right.
Now,
did you work for these people?
Well, I knew them, but I hadn't worked with them.
No, did you at any time work for them?
Oh, sure.
During that time, did they take out Social Security and that kind of stuff?
No.
They didn't take out withholding?
No, what happened was traditionally, if you start to sell insurance, most companies will subsidize you until you start getting commissions, renewals.
That's called a draw.
Right. Now, when I started working there, I worked there a month, and the president of the company told me they'd be giving me $1,500 a month. Wow.
Wait a while, but what was that, $1,500 a draw?
Well, he said that it would be non-repayable, which is typical of insurance companies based on production.
Yeah, but see, we're into some important considerations here. A draw. You know what a draw is?
Mm-hmm.
It's a loan. Loans are not taxable.
Right.
When they're forgiven, they become taxable.
Right. But see, that's the situation. You know, originally they were going to give me the subsidy, and it would eventually be non-repayable, and like you said, it would become income, taxable income at that point. Now, they paid me at the end of the first month a $1,500 check, and it said loan on the check.
That was a draw then. We're so far simpatico.
Okay, well, I questioned the president of the company, and I said, well, you told me this would not be repayable, but this is listed as a loan. He said, yeah, don't worry about it. He says, you're helping me do some other things, some training and that type of thing, and you're never going to have to pay this back. Well, at the end of the second month, the owner of the company wanted me to sign an agreement with them that I was going to borrow money from them, $1,500 a month, and it would be 100% repayable and with interest and all this type of thing, which I refused to do. I said, I'm not going to work for you and owe you money, pay you to work, for me to work here. So I refused to sign that, and they didn't give me any additional payments after that, but I did earn commission.
Oh, did you have a decent... Looks to me like that would have been the end of the relationship right there.
Well, the bad part about it, I knew the president of the company fairly well, and I started working part-time because obviously I couldn't live on the commissions alone. So at this point, I was working for commissions only, but again, my contract states that I'm an employee of this company. But now they're holding the commissions I earn and offsetting this supposed loan.
Well, you're not there anymore, I take it.
No, I stayed there about 6 months, and this has been a year and a half ago. But I guess, in my opinion, I never signed an agreement with them to borrow any money.
But you cashed a check that said loan on it.
I cashed a check that said loan on it, but...
Was it a payroll check?
Yeah.
I mean, actually from their payroll account?
Yeah, it came right from the agency, yeah.
No, coming from the agency is one thing. But do they have a payroll? You understand the distinction between a payroll check and an ordinary check?
Well, it looked like a payroll check to me, except for, like you said, it didn't have any taxes taken out.
Did it have a place for taxes to be noted?
No.
It wasn't a payroll check then.
Okay. Now, I guess my problem is, again, if I don't sign an agreement, how can they call that a loan?
It's not necessary to have an agreement. If I hand you a check, you're a nice guy, what's your first name?
Steve.
Steve, I hand you a check and says, made up to Steve Smith, and on the little 4 line on the lower left-hand corner, it says loan. That's a loan.
Even though I had an oral agreement before I cashed the check?
Would you demonstrate that oral agreement to me?
Well, before I cashed the check,
I want to prove it to me, Stephen.
Well, I'd call him into court, I suppose.
Well, that's fine. And he says, no, what are you talking about? Steve smokes Lefty Luckies.
No, I think this individual is no longer with that company either, and he would agree. I've spoken to him, and he remembers the conversation.
Did he have the authority to act?
He was president of the company, yes. Matter of fact, he's the one I signed the contract with. Now, I guess that's my first question.
Well, but Steve, let's go back into and you said they were there for 6 months.
Right.
During that 6 months, did they? Well, I'll put another way, be easier way to ask the question. Did you get a W-4 statement from them at the end of the tax year?
I got a 1099.
Then you weren't an employee, Steve.
Even though my contract.
But Steve, you put up with it. You acted like it. When they sent you the checks with nothing taken out of them, you cashed them. You didn't make any. Did you say at the time?
Well, I only got the one check. That's the only check.
How about the commission checks you got?
They held those. They kept those.
In the whole 6 months, you never got any commission checks?
No. Never received another check after that first one.
I thought you got 2 checks.
No, that was the very first one and the only one.
You got one check for $1,500.
Right.
And you never got any for the next 5 months?
No, I got nothing. They kept all the commissions.
And you kept on hanging out?
Well, I worked another job and work there part-time, which according to my contract, I had to be available 20 to 25 hours a week.
How much did you earn during that period of time in commissions?
About $1,000.
Wow, you weren't selling very much, were you?
Well, I wasn't very enthusiastic, with the situation, obviously.
So where are we now? Do they want more money from you?
Yeah, now what they're doing is they're saying, send us $50 a month, and we're going to charge 10% interest, and because your commission, they're still showing commissions after a year and a half of where renewals are in that, and they're wanting, well, you only made 170 this year in renewals, we're not getting our money fast enough, and we want you to start making payments, and we're going to charge 10% interest.
Have you talked to them at all?
Well, yeah, and with no avail. I mean,
what do they say?
They say that it was a loan, and I got to pay it back. But again, I
understand what you're telling me, Steve.
I had no contract.
Well, but you did have a contract. There was a check that you cashed,
and that is considered a contract.
I don't see why not. You nobody put a gun to your head to cash it. It was made out to you, and it said loan on it.
All right. Okay.
Now, whether I'd send them any more money until they litigate it is another question. Because I'm not so sure they would be sustained in court. I'm not certain they want to go to court.
I felt like I wanted to go to court.
Well, you could do that. You could take the initiative too.
My plan was to contact the Commissioner of Insurance and the Labor Board and then file a lawsuit. Now, I guess one question I had for you was, since my contract clearly indicated that we had a relationship of employer and employee.
How did clearly your term indicate that?
Well, it says it right in the contract that I've worked for other insurance companies.
What does it say?
I'd have to grab it real quick, but it says that we are establishing a relationship of employer and employee.
In that case, then they violated the law when they didn't take out taxes. The loan was okay, but then they would be obliged when they called the loan as income to give you a to go from the 1099 when they forgave it. And first of all, it wouldn't be a 1099 because a loan is not reportable on a 1099 either.
Well, they sent me a 1099 for my commission.
Oh, okay. Well, that was clear. They're correct in that regard.
But they didn't send me any checks. They just said this was paying the loan.
But that was when they're applying it to the loan.
Yeah, they didn't even make the checks out to me. They made them out to themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, the other question I have, as an employee, aren't I entitled to at least minimum wage?
Now that gets interesting too on a commission basis, and I don't know quite how they'd work that. How you demonstrate the time? If it was, I think you probably would be.
Well, see,
but on a straight commission basis, that's a different program. Again, I don't have an answer for you there.
Okay, that's something I just got to find out.
There you go. But I would have a chat with the wage and hour division, see what they have to say, and then you can decide whether you want to pursue it. Good luck, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Tallahassee, it's your turn in my world. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
I'm doing real well, guy.
Okay, I got a question for you about my credit card. Well, actually, my ex-wife's credit card. We got divorced about 2.5 years ago. And about last week, I got a call from this credit card company calling me, telling me that I'm reliable for $2,000 and something that he is not paying because my name shows up on the credit card.
All right. When were the charges made?
They were made about a year after we got divorced.
Did you notify the credit card company to take your name off?
Well, when we got divorced, I didn't, because she has that credit card under her name.
Was your name on it at that time?
She only gave me a copy of that when she called the company and told them that I needed a credit card. And
hold on. All I know is when you were divorced, on that very day, was your name on the credit card account?
Yeah, there was my name on the account.
Did you notify the company that you were no longer married to this woman?
No, I didn't.
Why?
Well, I mean...
How are they supposed to know?
I didn't even sign. I mean, I don't even remember I signed for that credit card.
Well, whether you did or you didn't, it was in your name and the bills got paid and you didn't protest it. I don't have any quarrel with that. What I want to know is, after when you were divorced, did you notify all of the people that you had joint accounts with that you were no longer married?
No, I didn't.
Well, you maybe have a problem.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, have you notified them that you're divorced from this woman and have been for 2.5 years?
Well, the bank accounts that we had together, yes, I did.
Forget about the bank accounts. You now got a bill from this credit card company. Have you notified them? You said to them, look, I'm not married to this lady and have not been for 2.5 years.
Well, Bruce, I haven't, this credit card, no, I didn't. The reason why, because when the bill, when we got divorced, he changed the address and
no. All I want to know is they just contacted you in the last week or two.
Yeah.
Did you tell them in writing that you're not married to this lady?
No, I didn't write it. I told them on the phone.
And what'd they say?
They said that they don't want to hear it. They want me to pay for what you can't pay.
Well, I would write the letter, and your position is going to be that I haven't been married to this woman for 2.5 years, that you didn't authorize any. I don't know how far you're going to get with that, to be perfectly frank with you, if you get involved in a lawsuit.
Yeah, well, my question I talked to her, and I saw her 2 days ago.
Yeah, real quick.
And she told me that she's willing to write a letter to them stating that she's fully responsible for everything.
Well, that's terrific, but she's not paying.
Yeah.
Being fully responsible is terrific. The way she's got to be responsible is to write a check. But if I were you, I would contact the credit card company and say, look, these charges were made without my permission. I'm not married to this woman. I don't know how far that's going to get you. 800-743-8000 is our number. We're going to be here for the next 5 hours. I hope you join me. Hey, try and do what's right. I'm Bruce Williams. Keep in touch. More and more ships.
Yeah.
They got more and more cabins to fill. What ship were they going to send you on?
The particular one that we were looking at would have been the Horizon.
Yeah, I was on that 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
On the Horizon. It's a lovely ship.
Is it?
Yeah, it makes an eastern trip and a western trip.
Right, they alternate
out of Lauderdale. That's correct. Saturday to Saturday. Yeah, I was on the boat.
Oh.
It's a nice ship.
So you like the ship?
Yeah, the ship's okay. It was a very nice ship. But I would never tout you on that itinerary.
Okay. So you think the eastern one is probably the better one?
Oh, I don't think so. My opinion. I'm only giving you my opinion. It's like comparing a Yugo with a Rolls Royce. Now, I prefer, you see, to be hanging out in the ship. So, I mean, I don't even go ashore frequently. Mm-hmm. But I certainly don't recommend that to you. You want to go ashore and see stuff.
Right.
But I think islands like, as I say, Barbados, Antigua, St. Thomas, San Juan, well, I mentioned the others.
Right.
They're, in my opinion, a far, far better deal.
Okay.
You'll have a lot more fun.
All right, Bruce.
And very frankly, I think you'll feel more comfortable. Again, the Caymans aside. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? What I mean by comfortable?
In terms of the hawkers and all of that?
In terms of security.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a factor to be considered.
Sure.
I do wish you well, Guy.
Thanks.
Our telephone number is 800-743-8000, 800-743-8000. That number is good as we speak. We have an open line or two. Or